can tell.
Miss Sunflower 94 has a great
What?
question.
Are we up? Good.
I already
Yay!
saw Miss Sunflower 94 in chat saying, is this episode Matt Key's revenge for the manga episode?
I hope not. I don't want to take revenge on that. Like, I love, here's the deal. I don't know everything. Like, you guys, like, it's like I've said, I am the luckiest Wednesday Club fan in the world that I get to sit at the table with two giants of comic knowledge such as yourselves.
Do not say this before the episode in which I haven't read
We're both
anything.
going to be staring at you like.
Oh man,
Like
I hope
the
that's.
who did
I hope.
what
I hope
now?
that's so not true. It's gonna be great.
I know middling. I'm okay in here, but I'm not like.
Well, I mean, look,
I'm not
I haven't.
solid.
I'm not. I don't know how solid I am. Like,
I'm
it's
already-
Marvel cosmic. Like.
Just saying
Solid is not
Korvac
the
at me.
point.
It's great. I'm
Oh,
so excited.
Korvac. Oh,
So-
Korvac.
Hi.
No,
Hi.
this is not revenge. I love being dumb and then being educated.
Revenge of the Key. Return of the Key. Return of the Key.
Return of the key. Return of the key.
Now I'm imagining that there was like a weird dance mix at the end of Return of the King that I didn't know about.
No, there's not. There's not.
Which,
It's like
thank God.
Just a little shuffle. Just a little shuffle.
Hi everyone, we're the
Hi.
Wednesday Club. My name is Matt Key. I'm behind the counter today. We're going to be talking about Marvel Cosmic. And then we've also got
Taliesin Jaffe, Executive Goth on Twitter and otherwise.
Amy Dallen, hello.
Enthusi Amy on Twitter. And we're going to be talking about Marvel Cosmic. So please, oof, love me some Captain Marvel. He is a weird character.
So there's a lot of Captains Marvel.
Yeah, there are,
3?
I think there might be 3.
Just from regular Marvel?
Just from Marvel.
Oh, if we add DC, there's more.
If we add DC,
Yeah.
there's more. There's a lot of Marveling
That's a whole
going
nother
on.
episode.
And at least 2 of those Captain Marvels involve a younger person becoming the hero when they do something magical.
Yep.
In Captain Marvel, he goes, Shazam! And then he becomes Shazam. And Captain Marvel, when he slams the Negavans together,
But like, was
they
that
switch
a conscious
places.
redesign? Did they go back and like make him more like Shazam? Because he didn't start out with
I
that whole switch
don't
places
know
with
that they
jumping.
started... We are
Wow.
diving deep.
Yeah.
Oh my God, that's some
already.
conspiracy level shit right there. But that kind of makes sense if
Kinda
you're in a
does.
legal battle and you want to show similarities.
Oh, not like in a mean way though.
Wow.
I just
I love that you're like, this is interesting. Wouldn't this be fascinating if? And then Talison's like, oh, they are devious.
No, I'm having a Mulder moment. Like, yeah, I'm having a like.
The truth
Damn
is
it,
out there.
Scully! The truth is out there. Was that the Negabands were an
Sterling, come
attempt
on our
to
show
win
and
a?
please talk to us.
to
Yeah,
win a
Starling, come on our show.
lawsuit. That would make me so happy.
In honor of the Marvel Cosmic, I'm wearing my Star-Lord jacket, but it is a little warm, so I'm going to take the Star-Lord jacket off.
All right, we're doing this.
and reveal this amazing
I'm
shirt.
pretty proud of this shirt. I'm pretty
It's
proud of
so
it.
good.
It's here. I'll stand
Yeah,
up so you
we're
can
gonna
see a
need a
little
better
bit.
view of that shirt. You're 100 feet tall, so find a
Yeah,
little.
yeah, right here.
There we go.
Earth is
This
actually
is how
in
most
scale.
pictures are of
Hey,
me.
who's down there by that non-existent barcode or caption box or whatever that
This
was?
is Ego the Living Planet, who here. This is what I did on the live chat briefly, but here it is. Ego the Living Planet, who had his debut in Thor. I can't remember which number. Shuma Garath had his debut in Doctor Strange Marvel premiere. I want to say number 10.
Oh,
Sounds
Living
good.
Tribunal had his premiere in Doctor Strange. I want to say 140 or 150 something.
I loved his
And
cameo on the
Eternity
Transformers movie.
premiered in Doctor Strange somewhere around Strange Tales 138 during the Eternity Saga, and then we have Fantastic Four. So
That's
is there-
Galactus.
Galactus,
Galactus.
yes, Fantastic Four.
Ironically, it looks like Elvis underneath that mask.
So can we?
That's canon.
But with,
I'm not
with
kidding.
square pupils.
Yeah, if you lose some pupils, he looks like Elvis. It's canon.
But is there any wonder that I love Doctor Strange as much as and Marvel Cosmic? I didn't realize that until I was doing research. I was like, oh god, no wonder I love. Like I'm very much a one-trick pony. If it's Doctor Strange, I know it all. Like
Elvis. No, really, look it up. It's canon.
I think you're right. Actually, I don't think
Galactus,
you're
no
I'm not.
helmet.
Yeah, Galactus with no helmet looks like Elvis. There's a what if where he loses his powers, goes to Earth, and becomes an Elvis impersonator, and they think it's really him, and he just takes over Elvis's
I
life.
love your knowledge of what ifs.
What if it's the best? It's the best thing
We
Marvel's
have
ever done.
an amazing question from our
Yeah.
cosplay already that asks, why is Damien Poitier behind us?
So our amazing in-house artist Kin Win made this for us. This is Thanos.
As portrayed by David.
as portrayed by Damien Poitier, wielding the Infinity Gauntlet, which you can also see you here.
And
So-
of course,
Gaming outlet?
the in joke there is that Damien Poitier, friend of the show and all around awesome dude, played Thanos in the tag at the end of the Avengers movie, which introduced him to the Marvel Cinematic Universe.
If you don't know Damien, he will be here eventually. He's an
Go back and watch
he's
the
going
one
to be
where
an
he joined us.
inevitable guest. What?
Didn't he come?
Yeah, he's
already been on. Oh my god, my brain. Coffee is still happening.
he's been on.
He has been on my brain.
And by the
He'll be
way,
back, though.
coincidentally,
it's because I was
Into
just
it.
talking about when he wanted to come back on.
Oh,
So I was
nice.
like,
yeah, I love Damien. He's great, and he's like really tall, so like he and I like we get along in that way.
Your necks don't hurt when you.
Yeah,
have
exactly.
conversations.
you need
I don't,
tall people
I don't,
in your life.
Yeah, I need more tall people in my life. Yeah, enough of you shorties. That's what we tall people.
I'm so
call
excited.
We assume you say
I'm
all
so
the time.
excited 'cause I
You're
was-
just
It's just like
confirming what
above-
all
it's just
short people
above
have
all
always
of you, though.
assumed.
Yeah.
You're just saying things we can't hear
Yep,
because
yep.
they're up there.
Well,
You can also see the people who are piloting us on the top of our head. Sounds like a very Marvel cosmic thing to have.
It probably, yeah. Coincidentally, the Thanos appearance at the end of Avengers is what made me, like, what first tipped me off that there was a little cottage industry in talking about comic books. Because I was at work at a commercial production company, and the day after, like that Monday, everyone came to work and they had all seen the Avengers. I had a line at my office like, hey, who's the purple guy? Who's the purple guy? And I was like, you mean Thanos? They're like, who was the purple? And I was like, oh my god, none of you know. Oh my god, there's a world out there that doesn't know who Thanos is. Like, and that was like this weird moment of,
It was your
I
call
might-
to action, your hero's
Yeah.
journey. Like,
yeah, I was like, I could start writing about this? Okay, yeah, I can do that. I wonder if I can get paid for this. And then I started noticing other people were doing it. I was like, yes, there's an industry for this.
Suddenly you know what you'll be doing in the apocalypse. Is you'll
Yeah.
be the comic talker.
Yeah, I will be the keeper of mythology and
Who
records.
was this man?
Yeah. So
when the
anyway.
call went out, you were ready.
Yeah, Marvel Cosmic. There is a lot to cover, so I'm calling this an overview because if we ever want to do anything more specific, that's going to be here are the Guardians or here's Infinity Gauntlet. Like this is
Yeah,
going
for
to be
those
a
who have
brief
no idea,
overview.
like,
Yeah.
what's Marvel Cosmic? It's not a company. It's not a storyline.
It is
talking about
not.
a broad set of characters and
Yes.
story settings, right?
Yeah, so Marvel Cosmic is basically if it takes place off Earth. So there's Marvel on Earth, that's where the Avengers typically are, the Defenders, like all that stuff. But the second they get off Earth, they're typically dealing with a more cosmic villain or
It's all the
story.
stuff you see in Guardians of the Galaxy.
Yeah.
It's all the stuff you see in
Yeah,
Guardians.
if you're a big fan of the movies and you love Guardians of the Galaxy, that's Marvel Cosmic.
Yeah.
Captain America, not so much.
Not often.
Iron Man, no.
You do get interesting.
occasionally.
Like the Fantastic Four and the X-Men deal with a lot of space stuff, and they've
They do.
interacted with a lot of these characters, but they are often considered like informally, like they're not necessarily part of Marvel Cosmic because they're families unto themselves.
Yeah.
That Marvel Cosmics, all that other stuff that you hadn't heard of until
Yeah.
they started putting in the movies.
And the Marvel Cosmic stuff gets so good. I love that one. The Marvel's Cosmic stuff is weird, which is why I love it so much. It's weird. Anything can happen. It's space operas. It's giant space battles. Like I was rereading Annihilation and to get ready for this, and I was like, oh, I forgot how good this book, how fun this is.
Well,
Yeah.
it always fascinated me, and this is something I don't know if we've even thought to get into, of this idea of what space and what aliens look like that were given to us by Star Trek, or even Star Wars, even though I know it's technically not science fiction. But then the comic book, both DC and Marvel, but since we're talking about, and which were oddly kind of started by some of the same people, the space is so much weirder and so much more occult,
Yeah.
and so much more vast and weirdly strange and funny and threatening in these comic books. And I was always kind of shocked by the, I mean, I don't want to say banality of Star Trek's alien universe, because that's not fair.
Yeah.
But by the conformity of it and the sort of, I mean, like, and I know that they had constraints because they had to put people in a suit, and it's usually just a forehead, and everything kind of had to be the same way. But like, Ego the Living Planet.
Yeah.
Fuck.
He's a giant living planet. Yeah. There are infinity stones from a celestial being who killed himself due to cosmic ennui. Like, what? Yeah. Like, it's not the collapse coalesce multiverse that is in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. The Infinity Stones, that was a cosmic being who existed before our universe was created and got bored. So he's like, nah, I'm going to decide that I don't exist. Poof. And then 6 pieces of him coalesce.
Became the least interesting Voltron toy ever. Just
Yes.
like
I
5
just
rocks
read
that turn
for the
into a
first time,
glove.
and I had not realized that it was just some dude being like, well, This is boring.
Yeah. Here we go. Yeah. Just in my cosmic rocking chair. This sure is boring.
See, I did not know that the Infinity Gems had once been a consciousness. I was not aware of that.
So, by the way, the Infinity Stones are Infinity Gems. That is the same thing.
Yep.
They are generally
Thank
referred
you.
to as gems in the comics. They are generally referred to as stones now in the movies.
Stones sound cooler, I think.
Presumably,
I prefer gems, but
gems is better.
You know, I like
sounds
that they're
girly,
different
and I
because
assume
since they
that's
have
why
different origins, I like that we kind of that way we know if we're talking about the stones from the films or the gems from the comic. And I like that there's because they are a little because a cosmic
little
cube
bit
is its
different.
own thing in the Marvel universe. And
I am so over cosmic cubes.
Are you over? We
I'm
are
over
all a
cosmic
little over
cubes.
cosmic cubes.
Cosmic cubes, for those of you who don't know, they actually started.
Give
I think,
me
in
a
Tales of
cosmic
Suspense.
dodecahedron, man. I'm ready.
They started in Tales of Suspense. I think Red Skull and
I just read
AIM
the first cosmic
created
cube,
it. But then we later learned that they had got got the plans from somewhere else. They had seen it before,
Thanos
something
built
like that.
one and-
Thanos sought one out, and
It's a little artifact that can turn your thoughts into reality.
yeah, it's
it's
kind of like
pretty cool.
a cosmic genie, basically.
It's if an Infinity Gauntlet is like a massive computer like a cosmic cube is an iPhone. It does some really
Yes.
good shit.
It does some great stuff.
Kinda
but
localized.
pocket size, yeah.
Great apps.
I see it as like the using the secret, but boiled down into like a little cube. It's like you put out there what you want, and the universe gives it back. And it's like, here's the cosmic cube. It does that.
Cosmic
Yeah,
cube
I'm a
just-
little over the cosmic cube.
We're all. It's
It's a little like it was great in Captain America.
There we go.
There we go.
Okay, to be fair, that's an amazing piece of art.
That's
but
something great.
How dare you tempt us?
And of course, the Cosmic Cube is involved in many excellent stories over time, including the original Winter Soldier storyline. One of my more
Yeah.
fondly remembered uses of the cube.
I see it as like a tool for retcon. Like it's just like we don't want that person to be dead. Now they are not. Thanks, Cosmic Cube. Like I kind of see it as like
it's
that.
a good run for like if you want to have a bullshit what if story, which it can
Yeah.
be fun. Which
like
What if so-and-so got
the
the Cosmic
standoff that they just did. Is that what it was called? Standoff.
standoff or
Yeah.
like if you just it's like little retcons that you can then undo very easily later. It's just like we're gonna pretend that this is true for a while and then it's not gonna be true.
Then it's not gonna be true. Yeah.
It's a cheap gag. It is the Marvel Universe sonic screwdriver. It's a bit of a cheap gag, but
it works.
But you kind of breathe deep and you're like, okay.
Okay, Cosmic Cube.
It's
Okay.
a lot scarier than they're making it sound. Just, it's not like hey, Cosmic Cube. It's more like Red Skull has the Cosmic Cube. Panic!
Panic. Yeah, like I like how we
Red
like.
Skull has put his brain into Charles Xavier. That's bad, but the cosmic
you do.
cues, and then you're like, oh god.
Yeah, I love that you and I are like Cosmic Cube cynics. We're just like, ugh, Cosmic Cube.
You guys
Seen
think
it.
like the iPhone, so Tommy Hobo says, I see the Cosmic Cube more volatile, like a Samsung Galaxy.
Well done.
Well done.
Well done.
Points.
You got a guffaw and points from Taliesin.
Fair.
So yeah, going back to defining the Marvel Cosmic Universe, it's everything that exists away from Earth. It has the Elders of the Universe, of which, if you've seen the Marvel movies, Collector is one. We're going to see the Grandmaster is played by Jeff Goldblum. He's another Elder of the Universe. They're actually brothers. And they are some of the oldest, most powerful beings in the universe.
I love that him and Benicio del Toro are now playing brothers in the Marvel.
so
I
good.
know.
It's great.
And so I was on Movie Fights a couple weeks ago on Screen Junkies, and we had a Guardians of the Galaxy specific one. And the way that I don't know if I've discussed this on this show, but the way that show works is they give you the answers a couple days before the fight, or the questions, and then the day after they give you everyone's chosen answers. But you choose 2 answers for each question. So one of the questions was, which 80s star would you like to see play in a future Guardians movie, and who do you want them to play? And my choices were Dolph Lundgren as Cosmo the Space Dog, or Bill Murray as the Gardener. The Gardener.
Bill Murray is the gardener.
I know. And the only reason I didn't put that as my first choice is because I felt Dolph Lundgren was more of an 80s actor, and that's what the question asked.
Okay.
Bill Murray, to me, is like unto a god and is therefore not an 80s actor. Dolph Lundgren is kind of encapsulated by the 80s. Like, he didn't really escape there. He's been on Arrow.
Oh my god, that's such good casting.
Yeah.
That's no getting away from that.
What happened?
So, Markia McCarty, who's my co-host on my Marvel show, her first choice was Bill Murray as the Gardener.
No!
And I had to fight Dolph Lundgren versus Bill Murray, who I would take 1,000 bullets for. I will call into work sick the day
is
he
true.
passes away. Like,
He's had Bill Murray themed parties.
I've had 2 Bill Murray themed birthday parties.
Oh my god.
Zach,
you are so on it.
Bill Murray is like a demigod if he's not the creator of the universe by my accounts. So when she was like, Bill Murray is the gardener, I was like, how dare you? And she didn't know that I had chosen that. That's the other amazing thing about it.
Yeah.
Just for everybody playing at home, that picture of the gardener was one of the most sedate outfits that character has ever had. He's usually a little bit more, oh God.
Yeah.
Who would garden in that?
And we're going to talk about this later, the Thanos quest, but that's the first time I ever met the gardener. And he basically watches over the biological botany of every single plant, like of all plant life. Like he's just obsessed with it. That's the other thing about the collector or the elders of the universe. They all kind of embody this one particular trait. The collector collects. The grandmaster loves playing games. The gardener gardens. The runner runs. The champion loves to fight. Like that's what they do. That's like they're so old. They're like, I'm gonna choose one thing and be the best in the universe at that one thing. So the gardener's like, I garden.
That's what I do.
And I would love to see Bill Murray just like sitting in a garden, just like, hey, welcome to my garden. Like that's just so
Would you like a tomato?
Would you like a tomato? I have tomatoes from Venus. Did you know that they grew on Venus? Yeah, I like. Yeah. God, Bill Murray.
No, just Bill
improvising as the gardener. Just make it happen. Internet.
Kind of doing a Bob Ross with the gardener. Just. I don't know what that is. Just a happy accident.
That's just a happy accident. Oh my God.
I'm just enjoying all the comments right now. Miss Sunflower wants a Wednesday Club shirt with, for those of you who don't know, that's very much like us.
That is very much a...
For anyone who's not already thinking about but there are a couple major characters in Marvel Cosmic that we haven't really, like, that stories tend to center around that we haven't really mentioned yet.
There are a few. So there's Nova, there's Adam Warlock, there's the Guardians of the Galaxy.
Silver Surfer.
There's the Silver Surfer. Silver Surfer. Galactus. Let's see, I made a list. Adam Warlock. Yeah. Thanos. Then there's also the sort of like the cosmic concepts. That's not what they're called, but like
the concepts. I think I've seen them referred to such in book. So.
Okay, so like Living Tribunal. Who we have here? Eternity.
There's this really cool thing if you find online. I'm really excited by it, and I'm hoping someone makes a statuary of it. I believe it's in the temple. At the beginning of the Guardians of the Galaxy movie, I'm having this nerd moment. When he goes into the temple to retrieve the orb that has the stone, there's hieroglyphs on the wall, and one of the big hieroglyph is a wheel, and it's got all of the conceptuals around it. It has death, eternity, like they're all there, like carved, like carved into the stone. Look, because
I know that they had like the stones, like they had the colors of the stones. They also had the concepts?
Yeah, like there's the concepts in a wheel, including death.
Oh.
We have to go. We have to
yeah.
Google this.
Some people Google it. And
all right, we're going to take 10 minutes. We're going to pause. We're all going to run and find that. I'm just kidding. We're not going to do that. That would be... We don't want to deprive you guys of our talk.
Extremely important question. How tall are you, and is that taller or less tall than Travis?
Are you? Travis and I are the exact same height.
Nice!
Yeah. We're both 6'5".
Jesus, that's so tall.
But actually, he is 1,000 times more yoked than I can ever imagine myself being, let alone being. So
weirdly, Matt has to wear these special watches, and he clashes them together, and then he trades places with Travis.
Yeah. I'm actually in the negative zone.
In the negative zone.
All right, so that's a good segue. Let's talk Captain Marvel.
Yay!
All right, so Captain Marvel's a weird character.
So quick.
OG Captain Marvel.
For those of you who don't know.
For those of you who don't know.
Currently in Marvel, in the world of Marvel, if you ask for Captain Marvel, you're getting Carol Danvers, and that is an awesome thing.
That is a great thing.
She rules.
She's awesome.
But she is not the first one to wear that name by a long shot. She originally got her powers from, there have been a few very important ones in the middle, including Monica Rambeau, who's there for a lot of cosmic stuff. But Carol traces her powers back to being a supporting character in a book of a different guy named Mar-Vell. Who's
Mar-Vell.
He is a captain in the Kree army.
He's also not the first Captain Marvel, but he's the first one at Marvel Comics. So that's where we're cutting it off for today, because there's a very famous character who also goes by Shazam, that
We'll
we're
get a
not talking
whole
about.
other
That's
episode.
a
There's a
different
whole
guy.
other. Yeah, there's a whole other thing.
I really
There
love
he
that
is.
story.
Yeah, so do I. Yeah, there he is, and that's his first appearance in
He
Marvel
changes his
superheroes.
costume pretty quickly, so
I will say I love
Halfway
the green
through
and
his
white.
run.
I've always been a big
good.
fan of the green
Yeah,
and
me
white.
too.
I
Didn't
don't
they
like his red and blue though.
The red and blue is
red and blue is classic.
like kind of like when
Okay,
they
classic.
yeah.
I love
so,
it. So,
Marvel, who dat?
who dat Marvel. So and the comic book that you just saw, and then I think Marvel Superheroes number 14 or 13. Then he later gets his own title, Captain Marvel, which runs for like 20 issues or something like that. He is a captain in the Kree army. He is sent to Earth to basically destroy it. There's this classic red and blue with the star in the middle.
The most cosmic superhero of all, which is probably around the time we all started referring to this area of the universe as cosmic. It's
Yeah,
like,
as the Marvel
They were
Cosmic.
like, here, just call it that. That's
Well, and that I think comes with what Jim Starlin was doing. Like,
who's Jim Starlin?
man, we are jumping all over the place. I'm
No,
so
no, no,
excited.
you're not.
Like,
This is
no,
important.
I know.
I'm excited.
Jim Starlin is an artist and a writer who basically constructed the Marvel Cosmic Universe for the 70s and 80s, and that's what everything that we know from the 90s and now is based on.
It does sound like a fake comic book name made up
Jim
for the guy
Starlin.
who brought us knowledge of the cosmic universe. Jim
Yeah.
Starlin? Really?
Starlin,
Yeah,
yeah.
there's a blacklight poster of him meditating that you can get for
Is there really?
No, there should
There
be though.
should be. Draw it, internet. Did I just threaten the internet to draw it?
Right.
Interpret that as a request.
Yeah, it meant it was a very excited, very fervent request. So Jim Starlin, here's what I love about Starlin. He's one of the first books I know of him writing is
Luscious hair.
Iron Man 55. Iron Man 55 is where we get our first glimpse of Thanos. It's where we get our first glimpse of is it Drax?
It's Drax,
It's
yeah.
Drax, but he's not Arthur Douglas at the
Too deep. Too deep.
First glimpse of Thanos and Drax.
Yep.
And the Marvel publishers were like, this doesn't work for Iron Man. This is a little weird. We're going to take you off this title. Like, I only think he was on it for like 3 or 4 issues, and it was just like, this doesn't work. The next thing he did, Captain Marvel. And it took off from there. And from there, he did Captain Marvel. I think he worked on some Nova. He did Infinity Gauntlet, Infinity War. He was basically the architect of Marvel Cosmic in the 90s. Like the Infinity Gauntlet, Thanos Quest, all that stuff, Jim Starlin.
Yeah. In the meantime, there was he wrote Captain Marvel for a long time, and then he wrote it's less about Marvel Cosmic and more I just love it.
Yeah.
In the early 80s, there have been a lot of waves over time of kind of trying to everyone making their own different efforts to expand and deepen the art form of comics. And one of the most notable ones to happen within mainstream publishers was in the early 80s when Marvel was like, okay, we do all these monthly books and we do big stories sometimes that go between them, but what we haven't really done is told original stories that stand alone in what we would now call graphic novels. Like they were like Marvel graphic novels became this line of like larger standalone stories that gave rise to some of the famous ones like X-Men God Loves Man Kills. The very first one of those
was the death of Captain Marvel.
was the death of Captain Marvel.
And that sounds incredible. Like, oh my God, he fought to death. He fought himself to death. Well, he died of cancer.
But it's such a good
It's
story.
amazing. It's incredible. It's like you hear, like if you know Captain Marvel and you know what he's done and like what he's gone up against, where he's been, who he's fought. Like he was one of the main foes of Thanos. Like it's Captain Marvel and it's Adam Warlock. Those are the two guys that Thanos is like, shit. I'm screwed. Like those are the two guys. That guy dies of cancer. Like it's just
Yeah.
like
It's real sad.
it's real sad.
And he's also one of the and this is extremely rare in comics, he's more or less stayed dead.
yeah,
Like
he really has.
That doesn't happen. Like there's not a lot of incentive to keep a character in the ground in comics. There's a lot of incentive to bring him back. You get a lot of sales. You'll sell an issue, and they've faked it a few times, and they've had some. Is it Captain Marvel coming back? No.
He'll come back, then he'll go away. He'll come back like he's brought back to life in various forms, but
There was a Skrull imposter for a while. There was a time lost
always a
version for
Skrull
him for a while.
imposter.
Yeah, that we'll get into that. we'll get
Although
into
I
that.
do think I cut you off in saying the basic deal with him, which is
So what's his powers? So what's his powers and
Yeah, who is
what's
he?
his
Where does he
his
So
come
here's a
deal?
weird thing about Captain Marvel. When he first shows up, he is basically just like a space guy. Like he shows up, he's an
alien.
He's an alien from the Kree homeworld of Hala.
And we've seen the Kree in the movies.
We have. They're the big blue guys.
Some in the comics,
No,
some
he's not
Kree
blue.
are like normal human looking, and some Kree are blue, and it is a status thing on that planet.
I think so,
apparently.
yeah. Yeah, like if you saw Age as a Shield, like the weird blood that they got from the Tahiti experiment or whatever, that was Kree blood, yeah.
And we all freaked out.
Yeah, and we were all like,
We're like, "You're gonna be Kree."
on TV? You can't do that on TV. I read that in the
Kree.
1991. So when he shows up on Earth, he has a jet belt and a gun that he calls his uni beam, his universal beam,
Oh,
that later
wow.
gets incorporated into like a sort of like wrist gauntlet that he can choo 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 choo. And he wears that green and white suit, and he can only breathe our Earth's oxygen. When he very first shows up, he can only breathe Earth's oxygen for like an hour before he has to put the helmet back on and recuperate, and then he can take it off again.
Comics. We're making it up as we go.
Comics, and Captain Marvel very much is a make it up as we go. Like this was very much like Starlin or no, Roy Thomas actually created him. He was like, yeah, this will be fun, space. And he ends up facing against like a Kree sentry, and those things are built of ancient Kree science, and they are indestructible and cannot be defeated by design. And this thing is like, I've been awakened to decimate Earth, which is true because Colonel Jan Rog did that, you know. Jan Rog, he's one of the main bad guys for Captain Marvel, and I think for Carol Danvers, Captain Marvel.
There was some great calling back to that in the beginning of the Kelly Sue run.
Yeah, because he's the one who activated the Psyche Magnetron to give her powers.
We'll get to that.
Oh my God, Marvel Cosmic, I love you so
Captain
much.
Marvel.
Oh, I love it. Okay,
we gotta get the main
he's an
players
alien.
now.
Why does he come to Earth?
he comes to Earth to destroy it. He's sent to Earth to destroy it. But when he gets here, he's like, I can't. These are peaceful, loving, wonderful people. I can't destroy this.
Clearly, you only saw part of Earth.
Yeah, right. But he meets Carol Danvers around that same time, and then he sees that the general or Colonel General Jan Rog kills his girlfriend.
Yep.
The nurse Una, I want to say.
This is what
like
we would
Nurse
call
Dr.
being
Una?
fridged, but you forgive certain examples because it's fiction. Sometimes people die.
Yeah, yeah. Also, I would say that this is like the late '60s when like feminism is just starting off and people are still catching up.
Not
It's
so
a
much
'60s book.
Not an overused trope yet.
Yeah. So he kind of fights back against the Kree and takes the side of the Earth, and he's eventually branded as a traitor and all these other things. But he's basically just a soldier with. He's kind of like, what's the name of the guy? Adam. He's kind of like Adam Strange. He's got a jetpack and a laser gun.
Jetpack.
That's basically it. But then I think the Marvel writers, there's Jan Rog. And Jan Rog actually
Great
sentenced
suit, though.
him kind of to his death because he was also in love with Una. It's always a fight over a girl.
Yeah. Also, his name is literally Marvel. Mar-V-E-L-L.
Yeah,
Marvel.
And so he takes the superhero name Captain Marvel. Because comics!
Cause comics.
Yeah, all Kree names have kind of that like there's another Marvel whose actual real name is Novar.
Yeah.
Is one of the,
Like
there's a
not
whole,
Nova, but Novar.
Novar, yeah. Then
But like
Philobella is the
Jan Rog-
granddaughter to, I believe, because Gina. Yeah.
yeah.
Janice Bell, Philo Bell.
Janice. I forgot about Janice.
God,
Shit.
I love
Too much.
so much.
Keep going.
So
powers.
The writers eventually decided, you know what? Spaceman with Space Belt, kind of boring. Let's give him a little bit more than that. So he ends up, he's kind of brainwashed to take over the Supreme Intelligence, and on his way back to Earth, he's...
The Supreme Intelligence is
Wow.
never
Oh my
mind.
God! Thank you so much. I'm just like, everyone knows the Supreme Intelligence. The Supreme Intelligence is basically like
Big brain that runs the Kree homeworld?
it's the brain that runs the Kree homeworld, and it is the artificial intelligence that runs the entire world, and it's basically the culmination of all Kree knowledge put into one.
They have a big brain in a jar that runs their entire
and it's
civilization.
almost like it's basically precognitive. It's almost omniscient because of that. Ronan the Accuser wants to take over the Kree homeworld of Hala, so he brainwashes Captain Marvel.
There's
Yeah,
a great
yeah.
conversation going on in chat right now where
About
I think
how-
Autistic Cosplay asked if the Kree homeworld is Shabbat bread. And Japan Rose said they hide it from hungry cosmic beasts by spelling it HALA, but the rest of us know.
Wow, well done. You guys are. It's
God, the chat room's on
HALA.
fire today.
Holla.
Thank
Holla.
you. We missed so much good
Wow,
stuff.
that is so good. On his way back, he's swept up in a radiation storm that sends him to the negative zone, and then he can't get out.
What's the negative zone?
Whew, man, every single time I say a noun, I'm like, all right, I have to explain that.
Footnotes.
Welcome to space.
Footnotes.
It's weird.
Oh, this is
Shit's
why I love it. It's so
weird.
rich and wonderful. This is like a new religion for me. I went to seminary, so this works. This is like, this replaces that.
Well, the
kind of.
negative zone, yeah.
So negative zone it's another dimension that's run by a being named Annihilus, who runs it with something called the Cosmic Rod.
It's the way that
That's an
Marvel
unfortunate name.
does other dimensions. I can do this really quickly because
Please
this was something
do.
I had to do. Was and this is. Things have gotten weird lately, so this is not necessarily entirely true anymore. But this
lately
is
they got
mostly
weird.
how it's been for a while. Is basically that there are dimensions above us and below us, and the higher up that you go, the better shit gets. And like the longer people live, the longer the universe exists. Heat death takes longer to happen, and then the further down you go is where things get weirder and weirder, and like history starts to be less interesting. Worse things happen, and then
don't even know
eventually,
this. What
oh
is
yeah,
this?
this I learned. This is actually part of the. It's like this giant spiral, because there's counter Earths and then there's dimensionals.
Oh yeah.
And then way at the fucking bottom, and I think it's actually the last universe to sustain life before they stop working, is the negative zones. And those are the negative zones where basically the universe itself is only the size of like 5 solar systems at this point, the whole thing. And there's just heat death is just the heat death of the universe has already happened. And it's that episode of Doctor Who where it's just the end of fucking everything.
Yeah.
And there's one guy and like 6 million people that he's subjugated, and the only things
all
that can
fight for
live
him,
there
yeah.
can barely hang on from the radiation and just entropy. And so it's the bottom. It's life at the very bottom before it's like no further. This is as bad as it fucking gets.
This is as bad as it could possibly get.
And this comes out of Fantastic Four, right?
Yes.
There,
Negative
they sort of-
zone,
They open
yeah.
portals and sort of experimentally explore
Yeah.
that.
It's an antimatter universe also.
It's an antimatter universe. And Fantastic Four, thank you for bringing that up, is like they were the first big Marvel comic, and issue number 2, they have the scrolls. Like as of issue number 2, one of the very
Space.
first Silver Age Marvel comic books, they're like, yeah, we got aliens in our universe.
Shape-shifting aliens, go.
Shape-shifting aliens.
We'll get to shape-shifting
And
aliens.
this was
Okay,
the
so-
amazing imagination of Jack Kirby at work.
Oof, God bless Jack
Oh,
Kirby.
you live in the positive zone. That's true. We have a new toy. Thank you.
We have a
Chief.
new toy, and
Well,
Chief Doom is playing with it.
Notes. This
We
was
just
like
got
one
this
of the first
today.
things we wanted for this show was like, can we have editor's notes, which is a thing you may recognize, especially in older comics.
Yeah.
You'll often have little boxes off to the side. They're not dialogue. They're not scene descriptions. They'll say editor's note, and they'll usually say something like,
As
For those
seen
of you
in
who
issue-
don't know,
Yeah.
it's,
For
it's,
those of you who
it's
don't
the comic
know.
book version of For those of you who don't know.
and it'll say something like, because if someone says Thanos, where blah blah blah, I can't believe you're alive. It'll say, see book where he died.
Yeah. Which would be like an Avengers 100. Thereabouts.
Rocket Raccoon 4.
Oh, God
Yeah.
bless Rocket Raccoon. Okay. I
So-
should have Brittany
Okay,
come
I'm
on
really excited
just
about
to
Chief
talk about
Notes.
this. All right.
Yeah,
Yeah,
you
Chief Notes are great. Yay. Oh, God, where was I?
Oh yeah, sorry.
Negative zone.
So,
Kirby.
Kirby negative zone. So Captain Marvel ends up in the negative zone.
Yes.
And he's stuck there. During I want to say the Kree Skrull War. No, maybe it's
No,
not then.
before.
It's before this.
Before the
yeah,
Kree Skrull
before
War.
that.
Those are the names of 2 different alien species. You may
Yeah.
have
We've
noticed.
mentioned Kree and we mentioned Skrull. We'll get to the Kree Skrull War, which is
Happening
oh,
soon.
it's so
Get
amazing.
there. Negative band.
Yeah, he somehow the Supreme Intelligence gets a hold of Rick Jones, who at the time
For those of you who don't know,
Rick Jones!
Rick Jones! Rick Jones!
Rick Jones first appeared in the Incredible Hulk. He was the person who Hulk pushed out of the way to save from the gamma
Think
bomb.
of it this: Rick Jones, comma, ultimate sidekick.
He is
Like
the
sidekick
sidekick.
of
Yeah.
all us sidekicks, boss level sidekick.
Yeah.
Guitarist,
Like, no one has
novelist,
ever sidekicked
professional
better than
house
him.
sitter.
Yeah.
There is nothing he can't do.
Yeah,
Kinda.
So at one point he was trying to take over the mantle of Bucky for Captain
It
America.
was so weird.
Yeah,
It
Cap
was so
like,
weird.
"Ooh, I have too
Take
much
that off.
PTSD
Oh,
for this.
yeah.
Yeah, he's
This
like,
is not
please
cool,
no.
man.
He's like, I can do it, Cap.
Cap was like, still sad, Bucky dead.
What was the thing? They had the Teen Brigade or something.
He had the
like
Team
that?
Brigade. Rick Jones
and the Teen
wanted to
Brigade.
be an Avenger, and his power was his shortwave radio.
But like, Rick Jones is the reason we have Avengers.
That is very true. He's the one. He is the
reason
catalyst who
Hulk
brought
is
the
Hulk,
Avengers together.
and
Yep.
He's the guy who sends out the distress call that unites the Avengers.
He is
When Loki is screwing with Hulk, he's like, "Hey, you guys have got to get together."
He is the
He's
unemployed.
some kid with a radio
He
who
is the
said, "Oh my
unemployed
God,
friend of
Hulk's
the
making-"
Marvel U.
Yeah, he
Like
is.
just everywhere.
Was Captain Marvel? Was this the first time Rick had really like had his shot at superherodom?
Yes. Yeah. Because he had been a
So after
sidekick. He had been
years
here
of
and
being a
there.
sidekick,
Yeah.
probably a decade or so.
Somehow the Supreme Intelligence gets a hold of Rick Jones, tells him where to go. Like it takes him on this weird trip around Earth, where he discovers the negabands. He doesn't know what they are, but even in the dialogue, he's like
nega, like negative,
N-E-G-A.
Like
Yeah.
Negaverse.
bands.
Negaverse, negative, yeah.
Like Pokemon.
Negaduck.
Negabands.
So he's compelled to put them on, and he even says in the dialogue, he's like, I don't know why, but I feel like I must put these on and slam them together. And when he does that, he switches places with Captain Marvel in the Negaverse, or the Negative Zone.
Negative Zone.
I
I know Sailor Moon ruins me. For
Yeah.
that.
So he's like, slam! And then Captain Marvel he's back. He's in the Earth. He's on Earth again. He's in our universe. He's in our reality.
There we are.
But essentially, they are switching places.
So they switch places, much like Shazam. So it's like Shazam,
And that guy we said we weren't going to talk about, we're talking about him now.
yeah,
He's
just as a point.
character we now know is part of DC mythology, but who started out at a totally different company called Fawcett, and that's the interesting part of the story that we'll get into later.
Yeah.
But you may know him because he's little Billy Batson, who says the word Shazam and transforms into the mighty Captain Marvel.
Yeah.
And this was the first person to have the name Captain Marvel, but had gone out of business and disappeared by the time Marvel Comics named themselves Marvel Comics and decided maybe we should have a guy named that so no one else can use it. And that's where Marvel comes into the picture. But he eventually acquires some traits a little bit similar to that old Shazam, which is Rick Jones was not a kid anymore. He wasn't a teen anymore. He was kind of a young man. But
20s, yeah, early 20s.
Yeah, early 20s, I would say. He's college age, certainly. Rick Jones hates it. He does not like when Captain
it sucks
Marvel
getting stuck in the negative zone.
Yeah. And like thankfully he's got a protective layer around him most of the time. Every once in a while that's not there, and then a nihilist is like, I'm gonna get you, Rick Jones, and he's like, I'm a teenager! Stop! I don't wanna be
Maybe he was
here.
still a teenager.
I like that
I
you
don't
did.
know.
I've always hoped that Annihilus' voice was basically Skeletor. He's kind of Marvel's Skeletor.
He is Marvel Skeletor. And he's got something called the Cosmic Rod. Come on, that's like
There's
Don't think about
there's two Captain Marvels.
oh yeah, there we
Yay!
go.
Oh, Billy. Oh.
Like the Cosmic Rod, that's like such a like frat brother sort of like term to
Which
me.
is why I love that the Human Torch took over the negative zone for a while, which just makes it even better. It's like, it's my frat now, bro. Anyway.
So good.
Anyway.
My favorite negative zone story ever is Hickman's Fantastic Four. Like,
Yeah, that's some
but
good
anyway,
stuff.
That's decades in the future.
And that's the Ultimate Universe. That's a whole
So,
other
Oh,
episode.
no, I haven't read that.
Oh, I thought that's what you were talking
I was
about.
talking about his main.
His main line. Yeah.
So this is our Kree here. We have the Kree Empire, and we have a Kree hero who defends Earth from the Kree.
And becomes like a traitor
A traitor to the Kree Empire.
to the Kree Empire, and he kind of exists in that way for all of his life as a hero.
Till the
Like
day he dies.
and like he'll still go back and fight for the Kree. He'll still defend the homeworld, but even when he does that, they'll be like, "Thanks for helping us."
Switching spots, Rick Jones thing.
Is that the end of the Kree Skrull War?
That is the end of the Kree Skrull War.
Okay.
That's what happens at the end of the Kree Skrull War, and that is also that is a weird one too.
Before we go into that,
As opposed to the rest of these.
Before we go into that,
Super normal.
the Kree are one of the big. There's kind of like there's some big important alien races in the Marvel universe. The
Yes.
Kree is one of them.
Kree is
How
one of the
would you
main ones.
describe? They don't really have any superpowers. They're just kind of
they have a
ultimate human.
well, they're
bluish.
they're ultimate humans. Some of them are white, some of them are blue, and their world is bigger, so they have bigger gravity.
They have an empire.
And they have an empire of like an entire. I think might even be a galactic empire.
It's big.
And the Skrull have their own galaxy.
We'll get to
that,
how would you describe the attitude of the Kree? Because they're not necessarily the good guys.
They
Because they're
love
kind
war.
They are very warlike.
They are a very warlike culture.
Roman.
Ooh, yeah, like maybe even Trojan, like even like
Yeah.
I mean, don't get us all confused because the Spartaks also exist.
Yeah. No, but I mean, I'm just talking about they're very.
But they're sort of like focused, disciplined warrior types.
Yeah.
Lawful-
a touch of arrogance. They have their
Lawful
leader's
neutral?
called the supreme intelligence.
Leading
so.
to lawful evil, like they lawful.
They're very
They're
lawful.
pan-lawful. They've got Ronan, the accuser.
That's amazing.
Who's well, I mean, like, because they've got like Ronan, who's very much their villain, but
Yeah.
except that he's, I mean, like
Sometimes he's also a good guy.
He's just, this is the law of Kree, and the Kree law will be upheld.
You know what? They are a
upheld.
world filled with Judge Dreds.
Yeah.
Every single person is a Judge Dredd.
Very.
Their culture is based on worshiping the morality of Judge Dredd. Like,
Judgment. They're very judgy.
they're very judgy.
They're very judgy
Yeah.
people.
They're like, we are right, you are wrong, and therefore you must be judged. And that's their entire civilization.
There's going to be some your mileage may vary on depictions of them, like because I think when Marvel first shows up, they're just sort of standard alien invaders who want to conquer things.
Yeah, but like the more it develops, the more they sort of
Yeah.
take on that cultural attitude. I
Yeah.
think. Yeah.
And then one of the other big alien races is the Skrulls.
The Skrulls.
Who will never show up, sadly, in
Oh.
any Marvel.
They might.
Here's
maybe.
the
They could. They could. Marvel
Sad
owns the
news.
rights. They just don't have the rights
Do
to
they?
don't have the rights to Super Scroll.
Are we sure they own the scrolls?
100%.
How do we know?
Because Kevin Feige has said.
Well, that's a good
wow.
sign.
Kevin Feige and I believe James Gunn has said that they own the right. Like they share the rights with Fox for the Skrull race.
Yeah, for those of you who don't know, all this cosmic stuff, like, the beauty of the Marvel Universe is that, like, a character from Doctor Strange and a character from Fantastic Four and a character from the Tales of Suspense book, which was featuring different characters at the time, they can all meet and hang out and be important parts of each other's stories. But the problem is that if you give person A the rights to make Fantastic Four stories and person B the rights to make the rest of Marvel, then Galactus can't ever hang out with Ego the Living Planet.
And trying to figure out who has the rights to what is
A mess.
so complicated.
Well, it's like
So complicated.
everyone assumed that Fox owned the rights to the Watcher.
Yeah, Ego might have been a poor choice because I don't even know where he first came from.
Ego is from Thor.
Okay, right,
Yeah,
okay.
Yeah. Though I do think Fox had the rights to that.
Those are Skrulls right there.
Skrulls,
those are
they are
Skrulls.
shape-changing green aliens. They are one of the all-time great alien races in Marvel. They've had a ton of wonderful stories. I like Fantastic Four 2 holds up.
Yeah. Yeah,
It's-
it really does.
The Skrulls are really interesting for a lot of reasons. They are extremely scientifically advanced, extremely
Yes.
magically advanced. They
Yeah.
have space magic is a thing.
Adam
Oh,
Warlock.
God.
Adam Warlock.
Adam Warlock.
His quantum magic.
The Skrulls are always kind of, and it's due to the nature, I think, of the fact that it is a race of shape changers, which means that there's a lot of just general distrust in general. There's a lot of general distrust in the Skrull Empire,
Yeah.
and then they also have like weird layers of religious extremism and a lot of what is it, divine right, and like there's
manifest destiny.
a lot of manifest, especially Earth. Earth gets a layer. There's like a whole thing of like Earth belongs to the Skrulls,
yeah.
and
we really own
there
it.
are little groups. There are groups of the Skrulls that really believe that, and then they also have the power to genetically bestow power to their own. They can trade their shape change for superpowers. So there's a character that I love, which is kind of like the big anti-hero of the Skrull Empire called the Super Skrull.
He's the one that Fox.
He got named
100
in the 60s, guys.
So
he's the one who Fox definitively 100%
Definitely
owns
owns.
the film rights to.
And why is that?
Because he is a Fantastic Four villain.
but why is he? What is his power? What is the power of the Super Skrull?
He has all the powers of the Fantastic Four.
Oh no, all of them in one guy!
All of them in one guy. He can turn invisible. He can project invisible force fields. He can flame on, flame off, throw fire, turn into the thing, and stretch all at once.
Clark's a guy.
So he can make his hand a rock, turn it invisible, put it on fire, and stretch it to you.
So if anyone wants to enjoy the silliness of the Super Skrull, I
Klurt.
recommend.
KL_RT. Klurt.
I recommend that you go to Spotify and search Super Skrull, and you will get the song, the theme for the Super Skrull.
Wait,
Whoa.
By
what?
Ookla the Mook.
Whoa, time
Prepare-
out.
Yes. It's a whole song about.
Are you used to our faces doing this yet? Like,
I just assume these are your real faces. This is just why. So yeah, if there, Ookla the Mook, who's a fun little musician, has a whole album of comic book themed songs, and one of them is this.
Super
This
Skrull?
after the show, I'll play it for you.
Oh my
It'll make you
God.
so happy.
Oh, this
It's
is
only
amazing.
a minute long. It's great. can't play it online, obviously, but I recommend that you
Go to Spotify
and check
and
it
look
out
for
because it's a lot of fun, and he talks about the Super Skrull and everything. It's great.
All right, so have we covered Captain Marvel? I feel
Yeah.
like I said 1,000 things.
We're solid on Captain Marvel.
Somehow he gets disentangled from Rick Jones, and then later at the after years
During
of
the
his
Kree Skrull
heroic
War,
career, he tragically, after all of his space heroism, he dies of an ordinary illness that they can't it's a pretty great story, y'all.
And because he's exiled from the Kree homeworld, even though they could cure him of the cancer, he can't go back. So it's sad and tragic. And
It's a great read.
You know what? I'm gonna ruin the ending of the book. Is that okay?
It's
Well,
from
he does die.
He does die,
It's
but
called
like
the death of Captain Marvel.
But the end of the book, I love because after he passes, if I remember correctly, he passes as he's passing, Thanos appears to him, but he's not there as an enemy. He's there as a friend, welcoming him to death because Thanos is, after all, an avatar of death, and he's like,
Yeah, hey, who's Thanos?
Yeah, so we're talking about the big cosmics, man. Let's talk about Thanos.
Thanos comes from the Greek word thanatos, which means death, which is how you know that it's pronounced Thanos and not Thanos. That's one of the big takeaways that I got from seminary. How to pronounce his name.
On the other end of that, I'll say thanatosis is used a psychological term, which is the death impulse. It's the psychological impulse that when you're driving at night, that weird little voice that's just like, turn the wheel hard. You know, you ever like, That's it's this weird little voice in the back of your head that's constantly like just kind of doing the dare ya chicken.
Are you chicken? Are you chicken?
So
I am chicken. I don't want to die.
Who created Thanos?
Thanos, Jim Starlin created, I believe, right? Jim Starlin?
Yeah, we're staring at you like we know.
Iron Man number 55, Jim Starlin. By the way, God, I forgot to pull this image. One of the first images you ever see of Thanos is in a helicopter. He's flying a helicopter, and that's when he...
How does Thanos...
No, my favorite was going back to read his first appearance. Like, he's in a chair, and I loved it because there have now been so many years of jokes about Thanos and his chair, because he later, that's just a thing. Like, his way of traveling through space is sitting in a chair.
He's got a nice chair.
On a platform. But, it
find the
probably
chair you
wasn't
like.
intentional, but going back to literally the first appearance, he's sitting.
Yeah, I am in a chair.
Yeah, I'm so powerful I don't even need
you find a good chair and you keep it for the rest of your life.
If I stand up, you're in trouble. That's
that's the thing.
Yeah, are we in trouble? Is Thanos nice?
Thanos is See, it says Thanos. He's it says Thanos.
That's the best. That's either the best or worst thing I've ever seen about. That just is like that's
Wait,
so
what
weird.
is he doing on this page?
I believe
He's making a quip about killing a cat.
No, he's saying, I believe cats have not... I can't remember why, but he killed Arthur Douglas and his whole family. Arthur Douglas is later resurrected by Thanos' dad to become Drax the Destroyer, whose entire purpose is to destroy Thanos.
Yep.
That's a revenge thing because his wife and kid were killed. But then Heather Douglas is also resurrected and goes on to become one of the greatest telepaths in the universe, named Moondragon.
Which she needs to be in the movies already.
She absolutely should be, because she also gets her powers from a dragon that is imprisoned in the moon.
And then eventually becomes a dragon.
And then she also becomes a dragon.
It's a whole... There's so much. It's too much. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I didn't need to say that.
What's that?
Here's why he's making cat puns.
Oh, that's
yes!
right. Yeah, Hellcat.
Is that Hellcat? Oh.
The Cosmic Cube, says Patsy Walker, Hellcat.
No use crying over spilled milk.
Direct.
His helicopter says Thanos.
Why is he fighting Patsy Walker? Oh, God.
Oh, that's great.
Bless you, Patsy Walker.
What?
A.K.A. Trish Walker, for those who aren't familiar with Marvel's Netflix offerings.
So, Thanos, as you've already seen, you probably already know, but he's this guy. He's the guy with the Infinity Gauntlet. Some of the very first stories of him are fighting Captain Marvel, also fighting Adam Warlock. I'm not as...
What's his deal, though? Let's get to him. What's his deal?
Well, this does also evolve over time.
This very much evolves over time. I'm actually not as familiar with his earlier stuff in like the 70s and
the helicopter.
Except I read his origin. I was like,
much like Doctor Who, we don't talk about the helicopter.
Yeah,
he is a Titan. He is from a moon
Titan,
of Saturn called Titan.
And he comes
Titan.
from a race of Eternals. His father's name is Mentor. His brother's name is Eros, who goes on to become Star Fox.
Oh boy.
Ooh, that's a mess. There was,
who knew that? Yeah, like of the two of them, that would become the problem child. That's a whole nother.
Yeah, the good guy Eros.
But you can see what Star-Lord is doing, or Starlin is doing, where he's got two brothers, Eros and Thanos.
Yeah, love and death. And Eros is very loving.
Eek.
Just go look that up on your own.
Not invited to our parties.
Yeah,
carry on.
He's
he vanished.
Purple Man
to,
and Jason, I would say.
Oh wow.
I haven't read any of those stories.
Very lavender.
Yep. A very lavender Purple Man.
What does he do? I don't know.
His
area.
I can cover it.
To,
is his power is that anybody within is like, I don't even think he can turn it off. I just think that anybody who's around him is instantly attracted to him.
Yeah.
And so
Instantly
he
falls
just
in love with him.
shags everybody.
Yeah.
But like once he
why not?
leaves, they go back to normal. So it's just sort of like,
oh, that's the worst.
he just sort of left
That's
this
an
trail,
awful,
and like
awful-
bless them, they did eventually cover it of like, oh no, you have to be fucking stopped. You're a problem. Like,
Yeah.
They definitely eventually like.
I've read very few
patent
stories
that.
with this guy, and mostly he just hangs around like not wanting Thanos to take over things. So I thought he was cool.
He's really good at keeping his brother in check, which was the one thing that he did really,
Yeah.
which was why the first thing that Thanos did when he got the Infinity Gauntlet is say, brother, I need you to stop talking and make his mouth go away.
Yeah.
'Cause he's like, no more of that shit.
No more of that. No more of that. Yeah.
Because he was like, you don't want to do that. Please don't do that. And you're
So
like, "Well."
let's.
Oh,
so
it's
there's
really creepy. They
there's
get into it.
The Avengers Annual number 7 kind of culminates a story that had been unfolding over some earlier Avengers Adam Warlock stuff, where Thanos gets.
Because at first he just wants to conquer things.
He just wants to
basically.
conquer
He wants
things
to
initially.
Just
He wants to
stomp on
kind
people
of-
and dominate things. And
He wants to
own
rule the
planets
universe. He
and-
is in love with death, but not to the degree he becomes in what Starlin does with him
Eventually,
in
he's
1991.
literally in love with a personification of
Yeah.
death. And that's when he gets super interesting.
But in his first incarnations, he is still after the Infinity Stones, even though they've never been labeled as this one collected set until the Thanos quest. There are these things floating out there in the 70s called the Infinity Gems.
They were called
that are-
Soul Gems at the time.
or
They were
Soul-
all Soul
they're all
Gems at the
Soul
time,
Gems.
yeah. And he goes after them, but he doesn't get them. He just steals some of their essence and puts them into a space gem of his own that he then uses to power himself to try and destroy the world. And the Avengers and Adam Warlock and Captain Marvel all stop him. So that's kind of the first big story with him. But then throughout the 80s, he's actually kind of dead, more or less, through
turned
the
into
80s.
stone, right?
Turned to stone, I believe. Then
Like
in
you do.
Infinity Gauntlet,
This is where shit gets
that's where it gets real and
It's
interesting.
1990. Jim Starlin writes, George Perez draws.
And it's the Infinity Gauntlet. Well, let's talk in Thanos Quest first, because you've read this.
I did. I went back.
been
I
a
was
while.
going to try and catch up on a bunch of stuff.
Thanos Quest is one of my favorite Marvel stories of all
There
time.
we go.
But pull out the real cover, because this is a
Go
new
for it.
cover that they made for it. This was a two-part story that
There.
was a lead-up, right, to the
Yes.
Infinity Gauntlet.
So this was a two-part
God,
story.
that cover. Oh,
It's Jim Starlin and drawn by Ron Lim.
Ron Lim.
look at this. I got it.
Oh God, I love it so much. And it,
Oh,
It's the front and back of the original.
hey, there's the gardener. Look at that.
yeah.
Yeah.
And this basically becomes the operating manual for the Marvel Cosmic Universe from 1990 onward. So everything before this, a little amorphous kind of stuff like this.
This
This
is where they
marks the
start to organize
beginning
it.
of Jim Starlin saying, let's put all of this together in one cohesive story and really fully definitively define what these things are.
Which is cool because
Yeah.
he's drawing on his own as well as a bunch
Yeah.
of other people's work and saying that thing we did here and that thing we did here, they would line up well if you just said that they were both this.
Yeah, because by this point he's been in comics for 15 years, like writing for Marvel and DC off and on, stuff like that, almost exclusively in the cosmic realm, especially with Marvel. Certainly, I don't know about DC, but certainly with Marvel. And in this book, he says Thanos is in love with death, and the only way to, and it's unreciprocated, and she's like, she doesn't even talk to him, like a dude that stands next to death conveys all of her messages to Thanos, and that infuriates him even more. He's like, just talk, I love you so much, I want to be with you, just talk to me.
She just doesn't want to talk to you, man.
She doesn't want to talk to you, bro. Like,
Yeah.
and it's just like, oh, see, like sometimes she has she appears as a pretty young girl. Sometimes she's just a skull. Thanos doesn't care because he loves her for who she is inside.
But what's interesting is it's not a like.
Sometimes just bones.
It's not a pure and unselfish love in a lot of ways because it doesn't remove his desire to want to like dominate things.
Yeah,
he uses that love as an excuse to empower himself.
And
where he's like, I want to be more worthy of you. That's why I need all this power.
Mm-hmm.
And it's one of the things that's fascinating about the Infinity Gauntlet is that in the end, and I'm not going to really spoil anything.
Yeah.
The way that they destroy Thanos in the end is by just getting him to realize how fucking broken and terrible he is.
Yeah,
just like you're not up to this shit, and you're not worthy. You're a mess. And he's like, oh God, you're right. Oh my God, what am I'm
I
awful.
also along with that, after he gets all of that power, I think this is around book 6 or 7. He's like, look at what I've done for you, and Death goes, you've made me obsolete.
Yeah.
Why would I love you for that? You now have my power. Why would I love you? Because I can do it for you. No, I like what I do.
It's
Like
such
it's
a
like
great,
this weird sort of like almost like very feminist take of like
it's a very wonderfully broken relationship.
I'm good without you, dude. Like I can do it. I can do it. Thanks so much.
Where like. At first, it's like she doesn't talk to you because she's so far above you, and then he gives himself crazy power, and she goes, "Well, now I can't talk to you because you're more powerful, so I guess I don't deserve to." She's still like making her
just like,
representatives talk, and he's just taking out his anger on everyone
Yeah.
around them because he like.
Poor Nebula.
Yeah.
Poor
Okay.
Nebula.
So
So a lot of this happens in Thanos' quest is him gathering all this power, and
and it's
Infinity
only
Gauntlet
two.
begins
It's only
with
two
him having,
sort of like oversized issues,
Yeah.
like 30 or 40 pages apiece. It's a quick read, and it's honestly one of my favorites. I feel like it's hyper philosophical, and it's weird.
He's a very
It's very
he's
weird,
a
and
very
it's
smart
silly, and
character.
It's very philosophical.
He is.
He is,
very
he is
smart
not
character.
a mustache twirler. He is not tying people to railroads. He is really, he is gathering power and then he's always attempting to understand what he wants to do with it and why he's done it in the first place.
And it's
He's
always
very
like,
introspective.
and it's always on a godlike level. So like some of the stuff that they've done with Thanos in more like recent times, I actually haven't liked because it's like torturous, it's devious. He's like enjoys cutting people. It's like
He's not super out of character with these though. Like he's got some cruel whims.
oh, he does
does.
have some cruel whims, but like I wouldn't say he's as interested in dissecting a person as he is in just making a planet disappear.
There's this thing that they
He
did.
operates on a very like a way up high level of
But like we were
torture.
talking about, he also has this sort of like his scheming ability and like he has this almost silly moments where he's gathering the gems from the various beings. Like where he's got a little bit of like stop hitting yourself. Like there's he's literally fighting a strong guy and he like makes a very strong beam and then turns it off so the guy falls into his fist and punches him, and it's like this like cartoon physics kind of like, but he's
pulling wings off flies.
He's got a pulling wings off flies to him.
But that is with a being who is on the same par of strength with him. He would never do that to a human. He'd be like, you just don't exist.
Yeah, he just
Like we're so below him. That's my interpretation of the character.
There's
how my mileage varies.
There's a great thing that they did in the Annihilation books, which I really love, which were these little. Marvel will do this occasionally. You get like a page description of a character because they're awesome and they want you to read their books, and they had classifications for planetary threat. If like a creature was dangerous enough to be like, if you see them on your planet, call the authorities. To galaxy threat, to universal and reality threats, like people whose like very existence in the universe, if you see them anywhere, run. You can't handle
Hit the panic button.
And so that they actually
hit the
had
panic button and
they
try
actually
to hop
had
to
scales
another
of like
parallel
this person
universe.
is a person who's dangerous to you. This is a person who's dangerous to your planet. And this person is dangerous to your galaxy, and then there's somebody who's like a threat to the universe itself. That there's just this insane scale.
Where does Thanos lie?
He's a universal threat.
Yeah, he's a universal
He's like
threat.
full
Yeah,
on.
he's a
It
reality
depends
threat.
whether he, for instance, has gathered a bunch of hyper-powerful artifacts called the Infinity Stones and put them into a glove that's called the Infinity Gauntlet. And is currently wielding extra crazy cosmic powers.
Yeah.
And makes half the universe disappear.
So we get the end of Thanos quest where he's got all the gems, all the gems, put them all on a gauntlet, and then Infinity Gauntlet starts. And Adam Warlock comes rushing to Earth. He visits
Who's
with
Adam Warlock?
Who's Adam Warlock?
Oh my God!
Said the man who dresses up for him for Halloween when he was a teenager.
I love you both so much. Thank you for enduring this with me.
It's amazing. Well, thank you all.
Thank you all for enduring with us.
How's the chat, by the way? Are we going way too?
Are you guys doing all right?
I think
Do we
it's
need to
going
slow
well.
it down? Am I?
I've never actually seen the chat
just
nosebleed
Dan
before.
Ryder
This is
said, is anyone else's brain leaking out your ears? We're very sorry.
We're sorry.
yeah.
How can we pull back?
Miss Sunflower says, Matt, this is 100% your revenge episode.
I know. I'm so sorry. I don't mean for that to be that.
It's the best. But I think I did also see someone saying, I'm surprised how much I am following this. That was a few minutes
Okay.
ago.
How
They
how
said,
can we
we're
dial
okay,
it back?
we're all great, more
Okay.
please, doing great, we're having fun.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you, vocal
Good.
members of the chat.
If you,
Good,
yeah,
thank you.
and thank you for always being like talk more about a thing, and we will talk. There's always more to talk about a
We
thing.
have a lot of specific requests for different characters that
One
I've been
one
sort
of one of
shelving
the
to
one of
see if we
the.
get there.
I'm also going to say one of the thing about the Titans and about Thanos is even
Sure.
without gems,
They're
they're
powerful.
they're almost immortal and really strong.
Yeah.
Like not like Hulk strong. Like you can't really do anything.
Yeah.
They're-
God,
they're
that reminds
not-
me. We haven't even touched the Celestials.
We'll
You
go
guys are
time.
great.
Okay.
This is so
time.
nice.
Okay. So
Warlock. Let's get
Adam
the-
Warlock starts off in Fantastic Four. I want to say number 65. He's
You're
created.
so scary.
He's created by a group of Earth geneticists named the Enclave, and they create him to be a genetically perfect human being. And
But they went too far.
and they create him in a cocoon, and they create him to be that genetically perfect human being, to then implement their malicious
Takeover.
intents. Because he is a genetically perfect being, his morality is impeccable. So when he recognizes that the Enclave actually is hell-bent on world domination, he's like, F you guys, I'm out. Like, I'm not going to do that. He zaps them all, disappears into his own cocoon, and then takes off into space, something like that. So he ends up on Counter-Earth. This is way too much background. I apologize. I don't think Jim
Don't
Starlin
blame
wrote
Matt.
any of
Blame
this.
Starlin. Or whoever
but-
wrote this.
I don't remember who. No, I don't think Jim Starlin did
Let's
this.
pull out a Warlock
Yeah.
Unleashed at last.
Oh yeah, here we go.
There we go.
Yeah, you wanna?
just
I didn't know if you want to play with it at all, but Jim Starlin gets a hold of Warlock in Marvel Premiere #1 and #2. Marvel Premiere #3, by the way, one of my favorite Doctor Strange stories. Marvel Premiere #1 and #2, however, is all dedicated to Warlock. That's where he, I believe, goes to Counter Earth, meets the High Evolutionary. He's gifted the Soul Stone or the Soul Gem, and then becomes a more
So-
cosmic being. And
Weird, creepy
All the
people
ones
with
you just said could be their own episodes.
weird,
but-
creepy people that we'll get into later. Give him basically what the Vision's got in the
Yep.
in the Marvel movies, which is that he's got one of the Infinity
Yeah, can you
gems
see it?
on his head. It's leaking right there. He's got soul power.
leaking.
It's the soul gem, and that's kind of one of the. It's like his big weapon is that he actually wears one of the Infinity gems on his
We
forehead.
did also have one request, which we should try to honor, which is whenever we can, we should make connections back to the MCU for folks. Like when we said Celestials, remember the giant
Oh.
head that they had a bar inside?
Hence actually that's the name of our show, Road to Knowhere. Knowhere is a giant severed celestial head in the comic books that the Guardians, that like the universe has turned into like a space port.
Oh, quick
And
thing.
the Guardians operate out of there, and Cosmo the Space Dog is the head of security and sort of runs the entire base.
The Celestials were the previous inhabitants of our universe, correct? That's the.
There are a lot of conflicting
There are
a lot of conflicting-
cosmologies for Marvel, but that's one of
They
them.
were created by Jack Kirby, though. Boom!
So there's Nowhere.
In
So
the
Yay!
Eternals #2.
the theory, and again, like no one really knows because no one was.
Celestials and Eternals.
There's only one person who was there, and he ain't talking. Is that the Celestials were from the universe previous to ours, where they were these giant space gods who all died. There's Galactus is the last survivor of our previous.
He's the last survivor of the
We don't know
previous
if he was a
universe, but I don't
Celestial.
think he was a Celestial.
But he is the size of the Celestials, which
He
is
is.
interesting.
He's sort of to scale with them.
Yeah.
But everything that existed in the previous universe is gone, except for these bodies, and occasionally something
Yeah.
leaks through. But this is something that happened before. Like there was a reboot of the universe. We don't know what happened billions of years ago.
I believe we actually found out that there have been 7 previous universes.
There's some Celestials.
There's
They
the Celestials.
Yay!
You've also seen them in Guardians of the Galaxy when they are coming down with their staff to obliterate a planet.
Yeah, when they were giving the orb over to the Collector and he was talking about the Infinity Stones, those are the Celestials. And we first meet them in Jack Kirby's book Eternals, which ran for 19 or 20 issues, I want to say. They were in issue #2.
Yeah.
anyway.
They're possibly responsible for all life in the universe, and it's one of the reasons that they say why a lot of aliens look humanish is because this was kind of
Kind of their thing. Yeah.
This was the basic desktop setting for a lot of
2
arms, 2 legs.
Yeah. Humans are like Windows 95 for the Celestials.
Yeah, and so like that's like a lot of the any of the planets that the Celestials came down and started muck with the genetics. That was kind of their base template, which is why there's some very humanoid aliens out there.
Yeah, but I think it's in Eternals #2 that they say like the Celestials created all life on Earth. Like,
yes,
like they are basically our Yahweh.
Earth, and this will possibly end with like Earth.
Bless you, chat. They're going so deep with some of this stuff right now.
Earth's relationship to the rest of the universe is really fucking fascinating, by the way. And I'll briefly get into it now or later. Just
I don't even remember what we were talking about.
I know
We
we
were
got a
talking
little
about
Adam Warlock.
And then we just
Adam Warlock!
Adam Warlock! Back to
Adam Warlock!
Because
So-
that's the Celestials. No, too much.
Adam Warlock.
Back on track.
He goes on.
Yeah,
This is
Neil.
when Neil Gaiman later comes on and writes about the Eternals. We're very easily distracted by Chief.
True story. I've never read the Neil Gaiman run of the Eternals.
It's fun.
Yeah, I'm
It's
sure
not.
I would
It's
love
not.
it.
It's
'cause
not
I love
earth
Neil
shattering,
Gaiman.
but it's fun.
Yeah. So Adam Warlock is the adversary to Thanos. Like Thanos doesn't like Captain Marvel, but Captain Marvel's more of like a badger that just keeps getting his leg, and he's like, "Oh, this hurts so much! Stop it!" Adam Warlock is actually the silver bullet to his werewolf.
Nice analogy.
Thanks.
That was very solid.
And Thanos knows it and is hyper aware of it. Adam Warlock is a very confusing character that I don't even know that I can get into until we get to Infinity Gauntlet.
When he
He's
first
all
showed up,
over
he
the
was
place.
called him.
Yeah, he was called him.
Just him. He didn't have a name.
Confusion starts there.
And I think when
Who?
he appeared on, I think when he appeared on Counter Earth, teenagers thought he looked like a dude who should be named Adam. Like these like youths were there and they were like,
Rick Jones.
"You look like an Adam." He's
Rick
like,
Jones
"I'll
said
take the
Adam
name."
Warlock. Sorry.
Yeah, probably so.
Maybe
Anyway,
not Rick Jones.
an Infinity Gauntlet.
Counter Earth is another planet that rotates on the other side of the sun.
It's
so
on
we
the
can't
exact
see each
opposite
other.
side,
It's
and
a
it rotates
thing.
at the same speed.
And we don't talk.
Yeah, we can't detect it. It's in.
We don't talk much with
Yeah.
Counter Earth. That's a thing.
Okay. Anyway,
boy.
sometimes it's a thing and sometimes it's not.
Sometimes we just pretend it isn't there.
Chat, I'm
Chat
sorry.
already said we don't. Let's not go to Counter Earth. It's a silly place.
It is such a silly. Nothing good happens. Like I can assure you, nothing interesting happens at
nothing
Counter
good
Earth.
can happen
That's
at
where
Counter
we go
Earth.
when we let Rob Liefeld design everybody.
Oh,
Nothing
God.
happy
Oh, my
happens
God.
there. We
That's
won't. Yeah.
The best. I love you.
That's where Baron Zemo becomes a superhero. Nothing good
Nothing
happens
good.
at Counter Earth.
It is akin unto.
101
The
Deadpool is
Megaverse.
requesting more Patsy Walker talk, and I 100% promise more Patsy Walker.
Oh, there
talk.
will
Not
be.
today, but
There
she
will
is
be
one
some
of my
Patsy
faves.
Walker.
And that will be the episode where I'm sitting over there going, "Tell me more, Amy."
There's some great covers for Patsy Walker
It's all
books.
just fourth wall breaking Patsy Walker teenage adventures.
love it.
Okay,
Oh,
keep
yes.
going.
So Adam Warlock appears to Doctor Strange, I want to say, lets him know that there's this cosmic level threat. Doctor Strange calls the Avengers. And Doctor Strange's main role in the Infinity Gauntlet is to be like, "I'm going to watch Earth. There's a portal. Everyone go." And they all go and attack Thanos. And Thanos is like, "Oh, this is really cute, you guys. I've already destroyed half the universe with a thought." Okay, whatever. One of the I wonder if I can find it. One of my favorites is when he just starts screwing with everybody. Like he puts
Find the cover. Find the cover. You know the cover I'm thinking of?
the "Come and Get Me." Oh,
That's everything you need to say
Come at me,
without
bro.
a single
yeah,
without
Come
a
at Me,
single
Bro. Is it?
yeah.
Are the covers not in here?
They gotta
They
be in
should
there.
be.
They'll be in
I
there.
don't know that they are.
Stupid trade paperbacks,
Oh, no.
which
There
are
we go.
collections, have changed over time.
All right, so here's a great one. This shows a lot of the cosmic pantheon over here.
This is how you know
Chaos
stuff
and
is
Order.
going
We got
down.
Lord Chaos Order, the
Stranger.
in-between,
We did have a
the
chat
Stranger.
request of
Yeah.
who would we cast as Master Chaos and Lord Order, or vice versa. I said that wrong.
Lord
Chaos
Chaos,
and Master Order?
Master Order.
There we
go.
No,
Ooh,
Master Chaos, Lord Order.
Master-
Oh, I would cast Stephen Fry as Lord Order and Brian Blessed as Master Chaos.
Oh my God.
Boom!
Wow.
Boom! Voice
Wow.
casting.
Wow. Wow.
I know. There we go. So those are just two heads that float around and represent the powers of chaos and order. It reminds me of the giant head from Hot Chip. Actually, every time I
Oh my god!
I know,
yes.
that was a deep
Wow,
cut.
that's a super deep. Oh, okay. Here's one of my favorites.
Sorry, guys.
Thanos. Cyclops goes to attack Thanos, and Thanos puts a box of like new reality around him, basically, and he shoots himself. Like, there we go.
That's that weird, like,
Can't put
'Cause
a
he
box
can.
on
He's
stop
like,
hitting yourself of Thanos.
Yep.
Yeah, it's, he
where-
has a lot. He's very mean and twisted, and does a lot of really cruel things
Yep.
to Silver.
He,
a lot of people do very poorly with him. Adam Warlock. Just because we haven't really described what Adam Warlock does,
just
and I can kind of do this
it.
because
Please do it
I've
for
had
me.
to think about this a lot. The cosmic characters tend to be very amorphous in their power. Like the cosmic powers are always like energy blasty, but like
Yeah,
what
Captain
does
Marvel
it
picks up the
mean?
cosmic awareness, which is this vague sort of knowledge sense.
So they all kind of become Doctor Who a little bit, and they just get really smart and really that's the cover.
This
There
is
we
one of
go.
the best
That's
Thanos covers.
I remember seeing that as a kid and being like, I'm afraid for the universe. Oh,
Come and
so
get
good.
me. Like, he's saying that to everyone in
He's talking
Marvel.
to the universe.
He's talking to the universe. Come and get me, bro. Come at me, bro.
So Adam
Warlock.
Adam Warlock, because he is this perfect genetic specimen, and he actually keeps evolving himself, and it keeps putting himself into these cocoons. He's not human at all anymore. He's basically just been evolving to this kind of super consciousness. He is kind of becomes a defender of life in the universe. He's
Chief.
Thank you, Chief. He's a brilliant tactician. He is extremely intelligent. He's extremely clever, but in a very like it's an emotional intelligence where he kind of understands the motivations of people. He is outside the powers of chaos and order, which means he is basically invisible to most of the cosmic forces, and he can kind of do things without the universe knowing. He's kind of like a little virus editing the universe in the name of life, and is extremely kind, but like not in this sort of like mother, but just in this way of like, I'm going to do whatever it takes to make sure that everybody is going to be okay.
Yeah.
And that's great.
Yeah.
And actually, like,
He's like kind in a divine way.
There's-
where, like,
there's
he's
actually-
not looking out for one person's emotion.
very divine. He's,
He's just
angelic.
Like, yeah.
And
That's a good way to put it. He's very angelic.
And the soul gem has basically like the Grecian Arcadia in it. It has the paradise of the fields of paradise. And sometimes when someone's dying, he'll just grab them and put them in his soul gem. He'll grab their soul and like make sure that they can just live forever in these beautiful.
He basically has
But the
heaven
soldier
on his
doesn't kill
forehead.
people.
No, it
basically
just
sends
takes
them
them
to Soul World, right?
to
Yeah.
Soul World,
Soul
which
World.
is this Arcadia style garden of gentle delights and pleasures, where like the fruit grows off the vine and everybody's happy and
In fact,
wandering around a meadow.
in the Avengers Annual number 7 that I mentioned, I think it's 1969. Anyway, Adam Warlock sacrifices himself to defeat Thanos.
Yes.
And then I think it's Captain Marvel who helps him get into the Soul Stone or the Soul Gem. And he goes in there, and that's where he rediscovers Gamora and Pip the Troll. And that's where he kind of hangs for a while.
Yeah, he chills in the Soul Gem for a
In
while.
fact, I
because
think he's there until right before Infinity Gauntlet.
Yeah.
He comes out during Infinity.
during Infinity Gauntlet,
and he
comes
brings out Gamora and Pip with him, and they go to
How
Earth
has
to
Pip
help.
not ended up in a Guardians of the Galaxy movie? I do not
Very
know.
difficult to.
Well,
Well.
there's a lot of people who are like hoping that Peter Dinklage is playing Pip the Troll in Infinity War,
That would
which
be
I think is a little on the
weird.
nose.
It's a little on the nose for those kids.
I really want him to be the actual Watcher, but that would never happen
That's
because they don't
interesting.
own the rights to Uatu. They only own the rights to the Watchers. Another cosmic.
That's another
Crazy.
cosmic. There's a
Another
group of
cosmic
cosmic beings
race.
who just watch everything. There's a cosmic being
An
for everything.
interesting note that you can sort of catch up on, like what it's been like as a fan to watch these movies and speculate, is when the first Guardians of the Galaxy movie came out, and you have that reference from Peter's mom that says, your dad was an angel. We already knew that they were going to change the parentage of Peter Quill, but we didn't know who they were going to make the new dad. So a strong speculation for a while was that it would be Adam Warlock, which, as you just said, has that sort of angelic personality. So this is the way that we're kind of assigning and guessing at those personalities. And of course, if you've seen Guardians of the Galaxy 2, they made a different choice, a wildly entertaining
And a
one.
very entertaining
Creative
one that I'm really
choice,
excited
yeah.
about because that gold skin makekeup looks so good. I'm so
really
excited
does.
to see a
I'm
gold
really-
Adam with the.
Who do you want to cast as Adam Warlock?
I
Spoilers
don't
for
know.
Guardians 2.
I don't know. I'd have to think really long.
Because it has to be a genetically perfect person.
Yeah, and Benedict Cumberbatch is already taken. So.
He's already taken as the wonderful Doctor Strange. All right, so Infinity Gauntlet, that leads to Infinity War, where Adam Warlock's future evil self comes back in time. The Magus?
Boy, are we going into
Magus?
the Magus now, or
It's cosmic!
okay?
You requested specifically that we get to the Abnett Landing stuff in this episode.
The what?
So just want to remind you that
The
you
what
wanted
stuff?
to get to the Abnett Landing stuff in this episode.
You're right. Okay,
And
and
it
it's
is now-
120. All right,
I don't
so
know what time.
Infinity War happens. There's a lot of weird stuff that goes on there. Then we have the Guardians, the original Guardians of the Galaxy in
By the way, the
1969.
original
There's a
Guardians-
bunch of different Guardians of the Galaxy, and they're not the ones that you've seen in the movies.
Yeah, the ones that you see in the movie are a later incarnation of the team, and we're starting to meet some of those original members in different capacities.
Yeah. But 2005, 2006, we get a cosmic event written by Keith Giffen. Am I right? Is it Keith Giffen?
I think it's Keith Giffen.
Called Annihilation. And there is an annihilation wave. What's happened is, at some point in the universe, our universe collided with the negative zone.
The negative zone that we've
which
talked
we
about.
mentioned, and a nihilist broke through. And in order to save his entire
Everything.
dimension,
Yeah.
he has brought his insectoid hordes into our universe and is now decimating everything in its path.
The Skrull
cosmic-
Empire gone.
And it's like cosmic level locusts.
The Nova Corps that you saw in the Guardians of the Galaxy, that
Oh
basically
my god, we haven't
Xandar?
even talked about
we
that.
haven't talked about the space. The Nova are basically space cops.
Yeah.
That's what
and
they are.
can tap into, what do they call it? Like the
Nova
Nova
Force.
Force. And it's basically like the supreme intelligence of the Kree, except downloaded into every single Nova helmet.
And it's basically this cosmic power that they have, which is the Nova Force, and then they all split it. Mm-hmm. And so I think there's millions of Nova Corps members.
There are.
This is a huge Nova Corps.
They're very
all
similar
but
to
one
Green
are
Lanterns,
dead
except
by
that,
like
like-
issue 2. We kill all of them.
Yeah, like Annihilation
Gone.
is bad.
Yeah,
it
and
is bad.
the-
It is threatening everything.
The Kree Empire is damaged irrevocably.
They are
the
they're
Shi'ar
on their
Empire
final.
damaged.
They're on their final
Of
legs.
course, the word irrevocable has a special meaning in comics that means kind of revocable.
But I mean, kind of wreckable. But like they're still recovering from the annihilation. Like the annihilation wave is still reference of like the power balance of the universe is completely thrown. This is why there are the reason the Skrull. Eventually, we'll talk about the Skrull invasion of Earth, which is a later story. Only happens.
Secret Invasion, right?
Secret
Yeah.
invasion only happens because the Skrulls are desperate, panicking, and they've lost everything.
Oh my God, you reminded me.
Like this all goes back to Annihilus fucks everything up for everybody. It's amazing.
Sam DeLevis in chat. Oscar Isaac for Adam Warlock.
That's who I was thinking, because he is a genetically perfect human.
He is a perfect. I mean, it's weird because that's sort of like that smirking, wonderful. Like he'd be like the most charismatic Adam Warlock has ever been.
I think Sam and I have talked about this, and I was like, there's someone that I know I've spoken
That's
about.
pretty
and
solid.
She said that. I went, thank you, Sam. Thank you. Yes.
Good.
And Mommy Panda is suggesting that this might have been 2008. If that sounds
Annihilation?
Yeah, it sounds about right.
Yeah.
And I'll
Because there's
say,
also Annihilation Conquest that came out
Later,
a year or
though,
two
later,
Oh,
later.
2006.
yeah.
Annihilation was a 2006 crossover
Then I
story.
think
Mommy
Annihilation
Panda's talking about
Conquest came out
something else.
2007, 2008.
There's several different Annihilation books.
Dan Abnett's Guardians run came out in 2008.
But if all you know about Marvel Cosmic is the Guardians of the Galaxy movies, and you don't want to read Infinity Gauntlet yet because you want to be really effing surprised, Annihilation is a great
That's where you start.
primer.
Yeah.
You learn who the Nova Corps are for the 10 minutes that they're there. You learn about the Skrull Empire for the 10 minutes that they're there. You learn about
the Kree.
like,
Ronan the Accuser is there.
and it's such a great. If for no other reason, the last surviving Nova is Richard Rider, who's one of the only human Nova Corps
the only
member.
human, yeah.
There's a different Nova now, and he's wildly loved, but it's
Sam
they're
Alexander, yeah.
bringing back the Nova Corps slowly. But like, there's a great story, and it's like a side story where he goes back home because he is just PTSD'd beyond human reason. And like this, when we were doing the registration, so like Tony Stark's like, "Hey man, you got to register with the." And
he's
the
like,
feds.
"I've got to who,
and
what?"
And he is like, "Do you have any idea what's happening out there?" And it's basically like World War I is happening, and you're like a guy's like, "What's going on? Hey man,
Yeah.
how you been?" And you're like, "I don't have a leg anymore. Europe's gone." Oh! Yeah, I'm gonna need you to fill out this receipt.
Yeah.
No!
No! I would love for you to take a survey of how's our service been. No!
Yeah, and he's like, and like he comes home, he's like, "You people are living in the fantasy land.
You're in-
Everything's dying.
Entropy is real. I just fought it.
Yeah, he's like he's so unhappy he's dating Gamora. I mean,
Yeah.
it's sad up there.
Yeah, it is.
Which
not
is
good.
another running gag of the Marvel U is dating Gamora.
Is
the
dating
sign that
Gamora.
everything has gone horribly wrong.
See Tony Stark.
See
Bendis'
Tony
Guardians.
Stark.
I'm gonna a couple more chat shoutouts. IDD says first time watching Wednesday Club and they're talking about my favorite comic art, which I'm guessing is Annihilation.
Is it Annihilation?
Annihilation
It's
is
really
so
good.
good.
It's really
so
good.
good. And it's pretty compact.
It is. It's only 6 issues. They also have a couple of offshoots. I can't remember where they did it, but
The offshoots are like 4 issues, and they just follow characters. If you like a character, follow their 4-issue run,
Yeah.
and it's really
really
Did you
tight
lose
and it's
your
great storytelling.
best bet for Annihilation right now? Because I can't remember if those paperbacks have gone out of print again.
It is on Marvel Unlimited.
Great.
Yeah.
It's, so if you
And I
pay
think
like
it's-
$10 a month
I
for
think
that
it's
service,
also on
you can read it.
Comixology Unlimited as well. It
Nice.
might be.
That wouldn't surprise me. Yeah. So if you look into both of those services, if you really want to read a lot of this
Annihilation
stuff,
is such a good introduction to the Nova Corps.
Yeah.
It's the first iteration of our modern Guardians, where it's Star-Lord.
It leads
It's
into
start-
the team
well-
that we know, right?
the team that we know comes out of the Annihilation Conquest.
Okay.
So Annihilation
Oh.
starts with Annihilus and his hordes.
Go ahead. The universe is recovering from the Annihilation wave.
As the universe is recovering from the Annihilation wave, the disembodied consciousness of Ultron gets into the Phalanx, which is like
Oh my
techno-organic beings.
Which are basically Transformers who don't transform. They're a
Yeah.
sentient computer virus. And
like
this-
Warlock on the New Mutants, like very
A
similar.
he's unrelated
different.
to Adam
Well,
Warlock.
too late.
Uh,
Not that Warlock.
We're
No, shush.
moving on.
Moving
We're
on.
moving past
Another
it.
episode.
New Mutants, though.
Oh
Yeah.
God, the New Mutants.
So-
he's in the movie. Warlock is going
I'm
to be in
so
the movie. I'm
excited.
so pumped for that. Okay.
Living computer virus merges with Ultron, decides to take over your universe, and
Ultron is
basically
that robot bad guy you might remember from
From
Age of Ultron.
yeah.
Makes the
So-
they figure out a way. Normally, what they would do is it was a touch-based virus where they could actually infect living things and take them over. But to be even scarier, they figure out a way to do that while maintaining the consciousness of the humans. They can, if there's a special version where if they deem you to be worth their time, they will leave you like it happens to Gamora and Richard Rider, where they become a phalanx. I can never pronounce it right.
Yeah,
phalanx.
I've
I
always
always
said
said
Phalanx.
Yeah. Blah, blah, blah.
Phalanx. Yeah, Phalanx.
Where they will leave you as you are, but now just serving them. So you're not
Yeah.
like a dumb robot version. It's, oh no, this is Gamora,
basically
except
a
now
thrall.
she's in it for
Us.
us. She's
Yeah.
part of our team now. It's
Figure that out.
really scary.
Yeah, it's really awful. It's been a while since I've read that one, but I do know that is where you get the new Guardians. So Peter Quill, we met. So here's the weird thing about Peter Quill.
Quill's
We
a
meet
long
him.
one.
Star-Lord first appeared in Marvel Premiere number 7. Doesn't really appear much.
Those names like Marvel Premiere are things we've talked about this in the past.
Marvel
but
Preview.
Like,
Marvel Preview is more of a
Marvel
magazine.
Premiere, Marvel they're sort of these anthology titles where they're
weird.
like, I don't know, somebody pitch us a cool story and we'll make it the next issue of this, and if it really takes off, we'll give it more space, we'll give it its own book.
Adam Warlock,
So that's why a lot of
Doctor
people's
Strange.
first appearances are in these generically named books because
Yeah.
they were just trying it out.
We'll go deep into him. I think in a Guardians episode.
Who?
Into Peter.
Peter?
Oh yeah.
We'll go deep into Guardians.
But what I love about it is that he doesn't really appear again until 20 years later in Annihilation.
Yeah.
Like he might have a pocket story here and there.
Happens every now and then, but Star-Lord's
he's-
very low key.
Like this Keith Giffen guy's like, you know what? We haven't done anything with this one guy who appeared in the late 70s, early 80s. Let's bring him back in, make him a cyborg, see how he plays, give him a sarcastic attitude. Great. Then Dan Abnett takes over Annihilation Conquest, I believe, and then he starts transforming Star-Lord into who we know. He also brings in Rocket Raccoon, Groot,
He's writing with
Gamora,
Andy Lanning,
Drax. Andy Lanning is drawing it.
I think they were a writing team.
Oh, were they a writing team?
Mantis.
They are.
Mantis comes into it, and they all fight against Ultron with Ronan the Accuser and a couple other.
Eric,
like,
I
big-time
love that
characters.
suit,
Oh,
man.
God, I love that suit. I miss that suit.
That helmet. Oh, good stuff. Yeah, it's before he had the element gun back.
Oh, it is.
the
It's
whole-
Keith Giffen. I was wrong. It's Keith Giffen. It's not Abnett here.
Got time.
So this is where we first start getting
Our
the
modern
current incarnation of the Guardians, and then it continues in Guardians number 1. I think it's probably the 3rd volume or 2nd volume. Anyway,
people look it up.
but if you want to read this particular run, it's one of my favorite comic book runs ever, and it culminates in the Thanos Imperative.
Which is a weird book.
It's real
So
weird.
interestingly, you have Abnett and Lanning steer like a new version of sort of the Guardians and kind of are helping reimagine the whole cosmic universe. And then they start bringing in like a couple more events by Starlin. So like who hasn't been writing the main books for a while. So let's see.
Which one are you looking for?
Which one's Imperative?
Oh, here, right here. Thanos Imperative.
Yeah, okay. He doesn't contribute to this one, but he like. I was trying to remember which of the Thanos blank ones were Starlin and which ones were Abnett and Lanning.
Oh man,
'Cause
yeah.
they kind of start
Starlin
alternating.
started coming back on this kind of stuff. Yeah, he'd been kind of missing for a while, but
Thanos is always a wild card. Like you don't really know if he's the problem or the solution
Yeah.
for a lot of these of these things.
with-
So it's always
It's interesting that you say that because like after Infinity War starts, he becomes an ally because he
Yes.
realized all the mistakes that he made in Infinity Gauntlet. He becomes an ally to fight the Megas in Infinity War, and then during Infinity Watch, he actually gets the Reality Stone or the Reality Gem. And is watching that. Like, I think Drax has the Power Stone, Gamora has space,
Pip has space.
yeah.
I can't believe I remember that.
Well, he ends
Moon
up having
Dragon
like
has
the power
mine.
to teleport.
Yeah.
After the Space Stone or Gem is taken away from him, he ends up having the power to teleport.
Believe I remember that.
God, my brain is starting to melt now. So yeah, one of my favorite comic book runs ever is the Abnett Lanning Guardians run, and it starts with the Guardians taking on the Church of Universal Truth.
It's so good.
And the Church of Universal Truth was the other big bad guy for Adam Warlock in his big run. He was always fighting Thanos, and he was always fighting the Church of Universal Truth, which was trying to proselytize the entire galaxy to follow their faith. But they were doing that because people's faith ended up powering their faith batteries.
They had faith batteries.
Faith was a resource for them, not a particularly way of life.
There's a lot of precedent for one of my favorite there they are. Oh god.
So weird.
They're so fabulous.
I love it so much.
I want a solo story on that one with the bug eyes right in the middle.
No, he's so fabulous.
Right?
I like Birdman in the back. The Kree actually, especially the interdimensional Kree that Knowhere come from, actually use imagination and belief powered engines. So the more that you believe that the ship's going to be fine if it's crashing, the less likely it is to crash.
I love it.
You just they're actually using belief engines to
It's so
power the
Douglas
machine.
Adams.
It's so great.
It's so good.
So they just need really confident captains. Like everything's fine. And you're like,
Oh my god.
Shotgun Face is so excited in chat right now. Just keeps shouting out things like faith batteries.
it's so good. It's so good.
It's so wacky. So you start there, but then you have crossover with like Secret Invasion. Then you have crossover with War of Kings and Realm
So
of
many
Kings.
crossovers.
All that stuff. But underneath all of that, everything is leading to this Thanos imperative, where Thanos ends up. I'm trying to remember the story, but Thanos is called in to help take on the Cancerverse.
Yes.
Oh, that's a thing.
Okay. Wait.
Oh.
Okay. Okay.
Oh, the Cancerverse. Oh.
Okay. So
Sounds real terrible.
it is real terrible, which
But not
is
that kind of
weird.
terrible.
So. Okay, I'm gathering my
go for
thoughts.
it, go for it. I'm so excited.
It's
Yeah,
You got time.
Yep.
Okay, so Thanos is brought in to help fight the Cancerverse because the original so the Guardians from 1969 that were introduced in Marvel Superheroes number 18, I want to say, they exist in alternate timelines 691 and the 31st century, where the Badoon have taken over the entire galaxy or our solar galaxy.
Too many proper nouns.
It's the future. Alternate future.
Alternate
Aliens
future.
have taken
Everything's
things over.
awful.
So then their future keeps ending, and they always keep dying. But Starhawk in the future is always the same. He might be a woman, he might be a man, but he has knowledge of it happening. He ends up coming back in time to where the original Guardians exist and saying, something that you have done is destroying our future, and I'm here to stop it. And for the entire run of the Guardians, Starhawk, later on Vance Astros shows up, a couple other Guardians show up from the future. Something is building this entire time, despite all these weird stories underneath it, or on top. This thing is building,
And the run you're talking about right now is
Dan Abnett, Andy Lanning, Guardians. It goes for 25 issues. It's a fast read. It's a great read. There's only a couple issues in there where you're like, nah. Moondragon is brought. It's
Available
amazing.
in paperbacks as Guardians by Abnett Lanning.
Yeah, it's amazing. But it all ends in Thanos Imperative, where the Cancer universe has broken through. And the Cancerverse is what has been disrupting the future. And that's what these future
And
Guardians are here to
what's in the
stop.
Cancerverse?
In the Cancerverse, the heroes have defeated death.
So no one dies.
No one dies.
There is no more death.
There's no more death, which sounds great. No one can die anymore. Turns out death is actually very important because death gives life meaning. Without death, you just kill each other over and over and over.
Everything has gotten really
Oddly,
awful.
I just saw the episode of Deep Space Nine where that's the whole point.
So everything
Love that show.
in that particular reality has become a twisted version of itself. So you have evil Captain America, even more evil Thanos, evil Doctor Strange, evil Wolverine, and they all want to kill death in every universe because they want death to not exist because they like
So who you gonna call when someone's trying to kill death?
Thanos.
Her creepy stalker, Thanos!
Thanos.
With his creepy stalker, death stalker powers.
But he comes in and somehow twists everything to his benefit.
Oh yeah.
And ends up in the Cancerverse with Star-Lord and Nova.
Yeah.
And they get stuck. And there's only one cosmic cube, and it's fractured, and it's the only way out of the Cancerverse. I won't tell you how it ends.
But it's them
it's
fighting the
amazing.
Cancerverse forever because they can't be
cannot
killed,
die.
and neither can anybody that they're fighting. So they're just
So-
sitting on a rock, desperately hacking away at people for the rest of time.
And it's amazing because Star-Lord's like, I've hated you forever, Thanos! Killed. He appears over here. I'm not dead. Comes running. Kills Star-Lord. He appears. Comes running. It's amazing.
It's amazing.
And that's the
Talk about working out your
Cancerverse.
issues.
I just want to point out for the imagination engines. This is the belief engine. This is like I found a panel from one of my Marvel books that I'm so happy with. Is Captain Glory? This is in the ship's cortex. You can't do this. The engines don't need to hear that kind of talk, Mary. Yes. That's so great. I would like if we have a second. There is a character you haven't mentioned that I would love to mention.
Do
who's
it.
kind of on the outside of this.
Do it.
The Silver Surfer.
Yep.
Yeah, we
somebody
barely touched
specifically
Galactus and
requested
Silver Surfer.
Silver Surfer right at the beginning,
Go
and
for
I
it.
was worried.
So
about
there's a
stuff.
giant creature called Galactus from the pre-existing universe that flies around the universe, finding planets and eating them.
He's called Devourer of Worlds.
It is kind of his thing. Is he's part of the natural order. Is sometimes planets are just supposed to die, and he comes and he just consumes all of their energy.
It's like a force fire.
And it's just enough energy to keep him alive long enough to get to another planet, civilized planet, and do the same thing. And that's kind of his deal. And it because he has to sort of set in a direction and go there and can't really alter because he'll like slowly starve to death. He creates these little avatars, these heralds, to go find planets for him to eat. And he's had dozens of them over the years, but the most famous one was called the Silver Surfer, which was a guy named Norrin Rad from a planet that got eaten. He was the only survivor of his planet that got eaten, more or less.
More or less.
Who, when Galactus gives his
Power cosmic?
yeah, he's got like a cosmic power that he bestows upon people, and it was a chrome coating
Real
that
good
Norrin
question.
got
Didn't he make a deal to be the Herald in the original version?
to save.
to save
I
his
thought it was to
wife.
I think it was to
His
save
in-law,
his. Yeah,
I think, or
it
something
saved
like
his. It may have saved his world. I feel like his world eventually got eaten though.
Probably.
Yeah,
But
maybe.
I
No,
feel
you know
like
what? Maybe he did make a deal to save his world. Yeah, what?
that he would
been so
serve
long.
Galactus.
It's been a while, yeah.
Yeah.
Like, I knew he did make a deal, and I know he's always like, "Oh, Zenla, I miss her," but
Yeah, he's very emo.
he is one of the most emo
And
characters.
he's got a big chrome board that he flies around on, and it's not really a surfboard. It's basically just a piece of cosmic energy.
He was created in the 60s, and it looked cool as all get out. and it
Cool
was
as all get
Stanley
out.
and Jack Kirby just using all their crazy, wonderful imagination to create like the most sympathetic, non-human
Tragic
he's
space surfer.
yeah.
who has pledged to serve this crazy destructive force for the best of reasons, but who now has
But
the
feels-
horrifying
he
duty
feels
of
so
going
much.
in advance and finding planets for him to eat.
So much feel.
Yeah, like it's.
And they come for Earth, of course, and this is the Fantastic Four issues that introduce these characters.
Is he
48
gives
and
them
50, I
48
think.
and 50. Yeah.
he ends up being the one who gives the Fantastic Four the knowledge they need to not even defeat Galactus, just to turn him around. Just be
Yeah.
like, not now. Go another way.
Well, and then also the Watcher's like, hey, so
Yeah,
there's
so
this thing called the
there's this
Ultimate
thing, and,
Nullifier.
yeah.
I've got it if you want to use it.
Yeah,
there
Zimla's
he
the
is.
planet. Shalaba is the girl.
God, it's been so long. He has trunks in this version too, which I think is kind of fascinating.
Yeah.
He doesn't always have trunks.
Whistles. And that's the Watcher in the background there.
Yeah.
And
Watcher.
Mobius is famous for some of his Silver Surfer art as well.
He did a
There's some
2-part Silver
amazing
Surfer,
Mobius
the
art.
story called Parable, which was it's a really cool one. Very metaphysical.
And most recently, there was an interesting reboot of Silver Surfer.
Dan Slott.
Dan Slott's
Turned him
rebirth.
into the Doctor from Doctor Who, and it's great.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
basically he basically realized that the Silver
he gets a
Surfer and
companion,
Doctor
right?
Who
Yeah.
have a lot in common, and so instead of a magic phone booth, it's a magic surfboard that he finds an interesting girl on Earth, and they tour the universe because that's cool.
And it's all red,
He's
right?
showing her the wonders of the universe, and she's kind of giving him human perspective, and it's really good.
It's Doctor Who.
Ulrich
It's
draws
great.
it. It's fantastic.
Yeah,
I haven't read all of that, but I do like it.
You have
It's
to read
so good.
I've read the
issue
first few.
11 from the first run.
Oh my God.
Is the one where the storytelling branches out in a way that you keep having to rotate the book and follow different paths in this
it's
circular
so good.
story.
Much. I
Like
love that.
they're using a time loop and sort of multiple perspectives. In a way,
It's so
it
good.
was nominated, I think, for an Eisner for Best Short Story or Best Single Issue
Single
or something
issue.
like that. And it's one of my favorite things from the last couple of years.
It's
Anyway.
another good chunk of Marvel Cosmic. Is the
Yeah,
Silver
Marvel-
Surfer
yeah.
is kind of space surf hobo.
Yeah, and he's had Galactus has also had was Star Fox? He
No.
wasn't, but Firelord.
Firelord.
We had
Terrax.
a shout out for the Mike Waringo drawn run of Fantastic Four. I'm guessing Wade and Waringo. It's one of my big blind spots is that I haven't read it yet, but I believe
Yeah, I don't
there's
think I've read it yet.
a
I
haven't
Human
read it
Torch
yet.
as Herald story that apparently is really incredible.
There's been, so much. There's so much that's happened because, the
Yeah.
Human Torch was briefly ruler of the negative zone for a while.
Yeah,
he
for a
had
little
had
while.
Annihilus on a leash. I kid you not.
And was married to Crystal at one time. Like the Human Torch.
We
she's-
haven't
she's got
gone
her
to the
own.
Inhumans at all.
Oh, God.
Oh, the
We
human.
had a
that's a
request
whole-
in chat.
Oh, did we?
Oh, the Inhumans are a whole episode.
Here's a very brief rundown of the Inhumans. They were created before, as humanity was evolving. The Kree came to Earth. Earth is a strategic planet for conquest. They see these things evolving, and they're like, "Let's make these things our own soldiers." And they create the Inhumans, who get powers through a process called Terrigenesis.
So
Were they originally connected to the Kree, or is that a later story edition?
I think they've always been connected.
there's also some connection
I get-
to the Eternals and otherwise. It gets
Sometimes
a
I
little
forget
sketchy.
whether the Eternals were
There's-
seven
but they're
seasons
an- they're
of
an
Garden
interest-
or High Evolutionary was involving
High
animal
Evolutionary was
people
involved in
or,
some of it.
like-
It's all a big mess. But
It's a mess.
The interesting
A
thing
fun,
about
fun
Earth,
mess.
about Earth in space, is that Earth is kind of this weird backwater, don't go there place. Like it's very much. It's kind of left alone because we have a whole bunch of weird genetic aberrations that don't normally happen everywhere else in the universe. Also, a whole bunch of people in our history went around and fucked with our genetics. So we have way too many superpowered people that don't make any sense.
Yeah.
And so if you're smart, you stay the fuck away, which is what most people do. And there's very much just don't go there. The people they produce are weird,
Thanks,
primitive, and somehow got a hold of guns. Just don't go there. It is a creepy, weird backwater that everyone kind of makes fun of, but at the same time is kind of afraid of.
They're all kind of terrified of it, yeah.
Ooh,
'Cause-
we just lost Miss Sunflower.
Almost,
No!
almost
No.
nobody has superhumans. Superpowered people are very rare in space.
Yeah.
Like the
Earth
Skrull,
has a lot of it, though.
the Skrull make them, but they base all of theirs off ours.
Yeah.
The Kree don't really have them. They just have good technology. And then the Shi'ar, when they get them, they can script them.
Yeah.
There's another big cosmic race called the Shi'ar that don't
They're-
really...
Avian,
we
bird-like.
filed them under X-Men. They're a wonderful
But-
part, and they get very involved later on in this War of Kings stuff that he was talking about.
Yeah.
In
And by
late
the way,
2000s,
there's
early
Phoenix,
2010s.
Dark Phoenix. There's
Oh, there's a whole
Captain
bunch.
Marvel goes on to
There's-
become binary. X-Men
whole
has
bunch.
actually a lot of
There's
cosmic stuff too.
There's a whole bunch of galactic empires, some smaller, some bigger. Kree and Skrull are the biggest ones. The Shi'ar is
Yeah.
probably the third there, and they're very imperial. But they've got a royal guard. They've got
Yeah.
the Imperial Guard, which is where if you have superpowers in the Kree universe, in the Kree galaxy, you join the Imperial
Shi'ar.
Guard.
Yeah.
You mean
the
Shi'ar.
Shi'ar.
Shi'ar,
Shi'ar get so.
Shotgun Faces shouted, "Gladiator!" I love
Gladiator?
Shotgun Faces.
Gladiator.
You're
Oh,
right.
and Kid Gladiator.
Oh, fucking Kree
and
Gladiator.
Wolverine and the X-Men, Jason Aaron.
It was so
Gladiator
good.
has this one of my favorite single panels of
He's a
any.
member of the Imperial Guard.
He's the leader.
He's the leader of the Imperial
Yeah.
Guard. His power is he's as strong as he thinks he is. It's entirely belief based. There's a Star Trek Marvel crossover where the Enterprise finds Gladiator flying in space. There's just this mohawked guy in space staring at the Enterprise, classic Enterprise, And they're like, what is he doing? Is he's just doing this, and he punches the Enterprise, and they lose 30% of shield power. He punches the USS, and he's just
Red alert! He punched us.
Oh, it's so good. There's Gladiator and his wonderful mohawk.
Oh, I love Gladiator so much.
Great.
Oh my god. I just want to mention I have Twitter pulled up here, and I've already seen 3 or 4 different shirt designs for those of you who don't know, for Matthew Bartlett. And then let me scroll back up. Give me 1 second. Maggie at Miss Sunflower has, should we talk about this now or later, as well as that's its own episode.
That's its own episode.
Thank you so much. Yeah, that's all I've been able to see.
Somebody else in chat said another good candidate would be too deep, but I don't think you can make a shirt out of that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Might make a good button. I'm not sure. That could get weird.
Could be a little too sassy.
That's good though.
Laugh.
Yeah, they were wondering when we pitched the show. It's like, would you have enough topics to cover for like 3 years of this show? And I'm like, you got to be kidding.
You got to be kidding.
Yeah, that won't be a problem.
What? Okay, let's just go to the chat because I feel like I've left everyone.
You were so good.
Right.
Behind.
You were so good.
Before, actually,
So
one more thing.
I want a top 5. I want a top 5 like places you might want to jump in and read.
Oh yeah.
Ooh, okay. Definitely Annihilation.
Annihilation.
Annihilation number 1.
2006
Keith Giffen.
should be available in a collection written by Keith Giffen.
I would also, I would actually start. So this is all going to be modern Marvel. Start with that. Go to Annihilation Conquest, which is the Ultron one. Pick up Abnett and Lanning's Guardians of the Galaxy.
Okay. I'm counting Abnett Lanning as Guardians as the second of these recommendations.
Sure.
That Silver Surfer run at the very least, if you're.
The Dan Slott
Parable?
Silver
Or,
Surfer.
yeah, that's a good one.
Silver Surfer.
Dan
is
Slott and Mike
great.
Allred on Silver Surfer.
Oh god, we didn't even.
The
A
modern
couple of
Guardians
historical ones
book.
would be good too,
Which one?
though. Like a couple of historical ones would be good too.
Infinity Gauntlet.
The Infinity Gauntlet.
I would stay away from
Yeah.
Infinity War. For
Yeah,
now.
don't touch
That's
that.
It's
a
weird.
follow-up. It's more complicated.
But Infinity Gauntlet is classic. I feel like it's necessary Marvel reading if you want to be like.
But there'll be a movie.
It's a
soon.
bit of a cornerstone now,
Yeah,
and it's
but
going
like
to
if
be
you-
quite different from what happens in Avengers Infinity War.
They've been
but
good about
you
that.
can see that they are milling that ground for a lot of their stuff.
And grouped in with Infinity Gauntlet, I would say Thanos Quest. That's kind of. If you
Sure.
read Infinity Gauntlet, go ahead and also check this one out, but I wouldn't count that as a recommendation. We have one more. No, because Silver Surfer, the
I will
slot
also
all
say
red.
that like
Annihilation, Guardians, Silver Surfer.
I really like the Bendis the Bendis
Guardians run?
Guardians run was a lot of fun.
Yeah, that
I
is a
thought.
lot of fun. I would pick that one up too. Yeah, I think that's
Bendis Guardians run is
good.
really good. Yeah, and like the new Nova book actually is a really
Oh, I
interesting.
love Sam Alexander.
Sam Alexander Nova book is
A
is
new
like
kid
a
is
good.
Nova, and it's pretty
Now,
lovable.
Very
If
Last Starfighter.
If you, oh my God, it is.
It's very
It
Last
so is.
Starfighter.
If you want to go deep, check out this book,
Well, yeah, let's
which we
start.
haven't even touched, the Korvac Saga.
I've never read it. I've read
it
about
is-
I read the Avengers Academy
is-
where he comes back. There's a redux of the Korvac saga during Avengers Academy.
God.
Oh,
It's
yeah.
messed up. It's
So
great, though.
That's
Korvac,
That book was so good.
Korvac very quickly exists in the alternate timeline with the original Guardians are from 1,000 years in the future. The Badoon are an evil alien race that takes over the solar system. Michael actually, oh yeah, there we go.
Nice.
First 15 issues of Dan
Limited.
Silver Surfer. Oh, good. It's been a while. Read it.
He is a traitor to humanity and actually works with the Badoon, but he does something weird. They turn him into a cyborg. Then he ends up coming to the past where he runs into Galactus, steals the power cosmic, and makes himself a god so that he can make Earth a utopia. And the Avengers misunderstand his intentions, and that's where it goes. It
Oh
starts
yeah,
off there.
Galactus tends to imbue his heralds with the power cosmic.
Yeah,
That's
and
just-
Korvac actually steals it. So he turns himself into a Herald of Galactus.
Terrax was another Herald of
Terrax,
Galactus.
yeah.
I forgot about that one.
That's a good deep dive. Also, we didn't even touch this,
Oh, and
Whoa.
and it is cosmic.
It's candy.
For-
It's
for-
sugary spun cotton candy comic.
For Modern Rec, somebody, Moonsrain, I believe, pointed out that as a soft intro to both the Kree and the Skrull, you can jump into Young Avengers.
That
Oh,
is
yeah,
true.
that is
Young
true.
Adventures
That
is
is
a
true.
really I almost wanted to save that recommendation. Although you know what, read it now so that you'll be laughing with us.
yeah. That's
There's two.
Alan Heinberg and Jim Chung
Start
did
the
the
first
original
run.
ones, and then there's a second run by Gillen and McKelvey.
yeah. That's who I was. I was like,
And
wait, is
both
Gillian
are
Gillian?
both are great in their own way, and I recommend both of them
Mm-hmm.
wholeheartedly. Like the first one is a little more down to earth, although they do cover There's kind of some
first one,
Kree and Skrull
it's a
refugees
beautiful, like,
on Earth.
It's a beautiful intro to a lot of things because they base the whole thing on Avengers history, but the characters are brand new, so they tell you absolutely everything they want you to know.
It's great.
Jessica Jones ends up mentoring them. It's great.
Oh yeah.
Oh my god.
It's real good.
It's a great introduction to some amazing characters too that we will inevitably cover because I know I'm like
Yeah.
You haven't even mentioned the Grant Morrison Marvel book.
No, I'm saving that for another day
Okay.
because we're
Which
going to do
one?
a young Knowhere. I haven't even gotten into Knowhere. Knowhere's weird and a little much, so we'll do him on the Young Avengers Day. I would also like to mention that there's a reason one of my favorite reasons why the Skrulls hate us
Yeah.
is that one of their first interactions. Oh, the Illuminati would be a great read.
Oh my
because
god.
they cover a lot.
Oh my
That's
god.
a whole other thing.
The Illuminati make me mad.
But like one of the things that
Are you
that-
talking about Fantastic Four number 2? Because
the Fantastic
I keep
Four.
trying to circle back to that.
The
I love
Fantastic
this.
Four when the Skrulls first came here, the Fantastic Four discovered them, and Reed Richards discovered these shape changers. And what did he do?
I think you want to say it. I've been excited to say this, but you are also, so go.
He brainwashed them, and
There's 4 of them.
There's 4 of them. Oh no, not them. I was talking about the fucked up ones. You talk about the good ones. I'll talk about the fucked. He brainwashed them and left them as cows.
No, that's what I was talking about.
Oh
There's
yeah,
4.
he turned them into fucking cows, and put them in a field.
They were shape-changing aliens who
But-
wanted to conquer the Earth, and they couldn't be stopped. And essentially, they defeat them by convincing them that they're cows.
And
Reed Richards
leaving them to
hypnotizes
die
them.
as cows. That is so
But-
twisted and fucked up.
But do you want to hear what's even cooler than that? There were 4. Only 3 cows were made at the end. The 4th got away. The Kree-Skrull War starts when Vision shows up to Avengers Mansion, and he's been shot down by 3 cows.
Yeah.
Now, here's the thing. Here's the thing to remember.
This is like
this
15
is-
years of real-world time in between
Yeah.
this random Fantastic Four story that introduced this species. Because Stanley and Jack Kirby were like gods creating the universe. They were like, here's a concept, here's an alien race.
We're
here's
playing.
a book.
This is fun.
They
This is super
literally-
fun.
They introduced the Skrulls and wrapped up that story in one issue of the comic, and we are still mining that story territory 50 years
It was such an
later.
egregious insult to the Empire that they have just been seething ever since that we
That
did
they
this.
were that Reed Richards turned 3 of their members into bovines.
Now there
But there was a 4th. The 4th one went on to become a superhuman hating televangelist whose name I'm forgetting, but he started this like big war against the Avengers on Earth.
Yeah.
While the Skrulls are trying to force an invasion, and while Captain Marvel is here trying to defend Earth from the Kree, it's
Now,
oh
and
my
my
god,
favorite
I love
And we haven't even
Kree-Skrull
got-
War.
and my favorite Skrulls ever, of course, were the 4 Skrulls that defected and joined Earth.
Oh, okay, go with those.
They became the Beatles. Skrull John,
I
Skrull
forgot
George,
about
Skrull Ringo. Yeah.
Oh my
Yes.
god.
There were 4 Skrulls that just decided to like went native and became the Beatles.
Is that where the Fantastic Four meet the Beatles?
I don't remember. All I do remember is
There was
during
that issue,
during
like-
Secret Invasion, Skrull John, the Skrull version of John Lennon is on a superhero team in Britain defending the Earth. It's John Lennon with bat wings and superpowers. It's so great.
They're also like much later, like
Yeah.
somebody picks up on that whole Skrulls got turned into cows thing in a really messed up way.
Oh,
the
what?
chat is telling each other about right now.
Oh,
Tell me,
They get turned into. Oh my god! Yes, all hail the mighty Skrull Empire! Like
all hail the mighty Skrull. Yes, you should tell them
I
what the
should
weather's
tell them
like
what the
down here.
weather
It's
is
all
down
hail.
here. It's all hail.
Lads, we're gonna take the Beatles places and rule the world. Yeah, it's a real
as
fucking
you
story.
do.
Skrull John works for the British government.
All right,
Yeah.
we're
so
running out of time.
The
Yeah.
Skrulls get turned into burgers and people eat them, and they go crazy. And then, or like the people who eat them get the power to sense Skrulls, but in the meantime, there's the Skrull kill crew that's tracking down all the people that like infected by
it's
crazy
such
Skrull
a
meat.
mess.
It's a mess.
The
It's
best.
a
It's
mess.
the best
So-
mess.
it's-
All right, let's
Reed Richards, man. Oh, what a mess.
do. Is
we
there
get our
damage
retro?
control? Is there damage control that we need to do with the chat?
Oh,
guys-
y'all are great. There's
Did we
a
do-
lot-
This
Okay.
wasn't nearly as weird as Explain DC Comics.
Jeff M says it's been a hard Skrulls night.
Oh, they're punning. They're fine.
We love you guys.
They're punning,
there's
fine.
so much good stuff in here. Like with characters like America Chavez, travel the line between Marvel Cosmic and the Earthbound superheroes. A lot of questions about why we're not mentioning more X-Men stuff. Starjammers.
Starjammers.
It's because we all mentally categorize them under X-Men. The stuff we're talking about, like, they aren't separate universes, but a lot of people tended to play with, like, different sets of toys, things that interested them.
And for reasons that are weirdly, and comics, it's always going to be a bit of bleed between the business and the creative. For political reasons, the Shi'ar Empire is sort of left out of a lot of the crazy stuff that goes on.
It really feels like the X-Men, like they're like, hey, we want to go. We're going to play with the Micronauts, and like we covered the writers who wanted to play with Rom Space Knight.
Yeah,
like that's what we did. Like that's
All
it.
Without mentioning Micronauts or Rom Space
Knight.
Knight.
Those are episodes by themselves.
Yes, they are.
That's its own episode.
That's another shirt.
I've totally
X-Men,
lost
Shi'ar,
what I was about to say.
Starjammers.
X-Men, Shi'ar, Starjammers. Oh, yeah, different people wanted to play with different toys. A lot of the stuff that we're talking about, like, people like Moondragon end up as Avengers for a long time. A lot of this cosmic stuff bleeds in and out of the Avengers. The Christopher War is a storyline that happens in the Avengers. A lot of the stuff. But depending on who wants to play with what toys, like Carol Danvers, who was an Avenger for a very long time, like, the writer of the X-Men really liked her, so he spent a bunch of time working on her because he wrote her book for a while as Ms. Marvel, and then developed a bunch of her stuff over in X-Men. So you do get crossover.
And turned her into Binary for a while, where she had like the power of a supernova, basically.
Yep.
But like a lot of the stuff that I wanted to focus on in terms of Marvel Cosmic, and what I feel like is more defined as Marvel Cosmic, is like Infinity Gauntlet, Korvac Saga, like all that stuff, like these deep cosmic.
Yeah.
I feel like X-Men in Space is its own episode.
X-Men in Space is its own episode. Like a lot of the FF stuff sort of stands alone, but like this other sort of Starlin and Abnett and Lanning and like their interactions with the Kirby creations. I don't know. Whatever.
Yeah.
They're softly defined areas of the Marvel universe.
Yeah.
As is anything. Is there anything else we should cover? Is there any questions that are fun in here while we're...
we've got 3 minutes.
Yeah,
Chief Doom just told us 3 minutes.
Yeah, so does the evil iPad.
There's a lot of just requests for deeper dives on some of this later.
There will be deeper dives.
There like what are they saying deeper dives on? Is there anything like... Some
of it's just like on the general stuff in here. A lot of it is like, so here's how does Marvel Cosmic compare to DC's New Gods?
You're gonna take New Gods.
I'm gonna take, man, not soon, but like I'm gonna reread my big anthology of New Gods because New Gods.
I've only read a
New
couple
Gods
of those.
is weirder, but weirdly more compact. Like the DC's Cosmic is smaller than Marvel's.
It is, and I feel like that's because Kirby learned how to do Cosmic
and like reeled it the fuck in.
Yeah, he was like, I know how to do this now, so I'm gonna go do not like a better version of it, like but a more efficient, more defined version of it for DC with the New Gods and Old Gods.
Which it's the only thing about DC Comics that's really contained, to be honest. Is like space is not vast, whereas Marvel space is just
Green Lantern
weird.
Corps?
Lantern Corps is I mean, but like Lantern Corps is Lantern Corps.
Yeah.
I think he means like the general mythology of like gods and cosmic entities in DC.
Yeah, it's not as like the number of planets that play an important role are much smaller, and even
Legion
those
superheroes.
Yeah, but Legion is, again, they shove that all the way in the future,
Yeah.
and it's still like weirdly contained. Like the Legion is just the Legion.
Yeah.
And you're not really, I mean, trying to map it. It's a much smaller map than the Marvel. My God, I'm gonna die.
I could see that.
Yeah, it's like.
But you know,
Legion,
there's
Green
still a part that
Lantern,
disagrees.
Green Lantern Corps, Krypton. I mean, like, and like the people surrounding the Green Lantern Corps, the people surrounding the Legion. Like, how many aliens are there on Earth, really, in the DC universe? How many superpowered aliens are there? There's Superman.
Superman.
No, there's Superman from a planet that doesn't exist anymore, so there's literally only like 5 members of the species.
It's own canon.
The Daxamites.
Do not ever believe that anything is simpler than anything else.
I'm saying it's a smaller universe, but still universe sized. It's just slightly smaller. There's less insanity.
They may have given slightly less reign to this will be a philosophical crazy pants thing.
I think so.
Except that then we have frigging Sandman is technically DC Universe adjacent.
Well, they actually have. I will say where DC gets big is in their cosmology, where Marvel expands into space and leaves and sort of leaves the cosmology kind of alone. DC has decided to make the cosmology really, really big, and space is kind of the thing that it's kind of a little flatter.
Sure.
Where where we'll talk about, here's about 300 alien worlds that you have to deal with, as opposed to the 10,000 in Marvel. But here is every pantheon of gods who've ever lived, their order and realities, the gods they worship, the gods
I feel like it's better
above them,
defined.
and then a gods above them. Like there's actually like an 11-tier system of there's actual angels in the DC universe.
Yeah.
Angels exist.
Yeah.
There is a Christian god in the DC universe, which is weird, but it exists.
Yeah.
There are avatars of Zeus. And it's not like cool Asgardian alien race. No, it's Zeus.
Yeah, it's just Zeus. All right,
Zeus.
we gotta wrap it up.
Yeah.
Chief Doom is telling us to wrap
Amazing.
it.
So yeah, we have a million more requests.
So many episodes.
Thank you guys so much for this.
So
Ken's amazing Thanos.
next week,
Do we want to talk about next week now, or do we want to you want to wait and think
because
about
you had
it?
mentioned something, do you want to address that now, or should we address that off air? I leave it to you.
What if we ask them whether they want it before or after?
That's a good. Okay, yes.
I would let you take it.
Do you want us to talk about Wonder Woman right before the movie comes out, or right after the movie comes out?
We were debating.
We were debating. We don't know if there's a better answer.
I'm also not seeing it early, so if we do it next week, I won't have seen the movie
We're,
yet.
we're probably not really going to talk about the movie. We're just going to talk about the comics.
Wonder Woman.
We're going to talk about Wonder Woman.
So you
Everyone
let
says
us...
now. That's
So-
actually not an option, unfortunately, because we have like other shows apparently.
I have work to do.
Before,
we all have to
I
go
want
through our
context
other jobs.
before, now, before, after, before, I think after, before, after. This is hard. We should have made a poll. Why didn't we make a poll?
I'm hearing more befores than I am after.
I'm
Before
hearing a lot.
and after. It seems like before is winning.
Well, we'll
During,
figure it out when
says
we
Xenophil.
look. We better wrap it up.
Anyway, thanks for joining us today. Hope that your brains are still in your skulls. I'm sorry if I melted it too much, or we melted it.
Cosmic.
Sold out.
Cosmic!
Thank
Marvel
you,
Cosmic!
Mikey, that was
yeah,
amazing.
Thank you. The very fun overview. We'll do some deep dives later. And we'll definitely do an X-Men in space at some point. But in the meantime, I'm Matt Key at the Matt Key. Find me here on Wednesdays. Find me on Screen Junkies Thursdays and Fridays. And on my Marvel show on Tuesdays.
I'm Taliesin Jaffe at Executive Goth everywhere that matters. You can find me here on Wednesdays, Thursdays on Critical Role, and all over the place otherwise.
Yeah, Amy Dallen. You can find me here most of the time. Thanks for reading comics.
Bye, guys. We'll see you next Wednesday.
Bye.